All right. What's up, and welcome back to another live stream with Gizmo Slip Tech. It's a glorious day. We've got the MSI GE78HX Raider unboxing, undervolting, overclocking, benchmarking. We're going to benchmark, at least try to do 5 games, or at least test out 5 games. We're going to do Cinebench R23 Timespy. We're going to take the bottom of the chassis off. We're going to do a display analysis with the Spyder 5 Elite. Check out how bright this display is. That's one of the biggest question marks about it. We're going to stack this up side by side against the MSI GT77 Titan and see how much smaller it is. We're going to stack it up against this G18 and the Alienware M16. And maybe the Razer Blade 18 as well. We're going to take the bottom off. We're going to do an internal analysis of the thermal solution. And overall, I'm anticipating this thing is going to be pretty freaking awesome laptop. Might be my laptop of choice for the year. Maybe it's one of the top contenders, actually, because it's got a smaller overall carry profile while still having very high levels of performance. And it's a 16:10 aspect ratio display in the GE78HX. So this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to show this laptop to you guys. I think it's going to be one of the most popular laptops of the year from MSI. Let's get started. All right. So, yeah. So when we're getting started, we're going to start with a really basic, quick comparison between the HX here, the MSI GE78HX, and what are the top competitors for this laptop that you should consider, right? So around 17 inches, 18 inches. I believe the top competitors are going to be the MSI GT77, which is like the bigger version of this guy. It's going to have a little bit better cooling, most likely. You've got the Scar 18. And if we sort this by price, and we sort this by display size. So this is my all 2023 gaming laptop list for all the new RTX 4000 series laptops. There are reviews, ratings, links to buy every single laptop, pretty much, at least in the United States. We're going to be adding international links soon. It's on the to-do list. We have applied. We're still waiting. It takes a couple weeks usually to get approval. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to testing what this thing can do. But let's see here. So on here, you're going to be able to find my thoughts about each laptop. You're going to be able to look at the display quality, the overall size of the laptop. You're going to be able to search by display size. So I'm going to try to go down here. I'm going to go to display size. I'm going to say 17 inches or bigger. All right, and we're going to look at the most expensive laptops. So right here at the top, we have the MSI GT77. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. All right, so we have the GT77, the Blade 18, the GE78, the Stealth 17. Don't recommend this guy pretty much at all. Just in general, I think it's a bad design. Scar 18, and the reason why I say that, right? The reason why I say that is because why would you want to give up so much performance, spend so much money, and the laptop's not really even that much more portable. Like, it's not that much lighter. It's still over 6 pounds. Might as well get a higher level of performance. Different laptop. That's my thought on the Stealth Studio. The Blade 18. So for the best competitor against the GE78 is probably the Blade 18 and Scar 18. Those would be my top 2 at least. The Alienware M16 and 18 would also be very competitive. The Scar 17, the Aorus 17X, the XMG Neo 17. So you can get in here, you can expand this list, you can switch around, jump around between the different laptops. And then, of course, right here, there's links to potentially buy these laptops. So here's the laptop we're looking at today, except this is the RTX 4080 version. We're not dealing with the 4090. This is the 4080 version. This thing is going to be, I think, just super nice. I think it's going to be really good overall performance and everything, but we're going to find out today, right? We're going to actually put the pedal to the metal and see what the performance is like. So, all right, Amplify says, what's up? It says, ain't no way, only 14 people are watching. That's, yeah, no, okay, yeah, there's a lot of people hopping on. Marksman says, Woot, I originally wanted to buy this laptop Raider over the Titan, but was not in stock, went all out for the Titan instead. Nice. So this will be a good example so you can decide, the people who are deciding between the GT77 and the GE78, this video should be very helpful to you. All right, let's get into the unboxing. First step we're going to do is unbox it, see what's in the box, and then we're going to take the bottom off. So this is the external box. This was inside of another box. So this is the second layer. This is the third layer right here, this blue box, which actually is pretty sweet looking. It's got a nice blue and purple Raider logo. It's a nicer unboxing experience than the GT77 even. And there's a few other upgrades that I was surprised about for the GE78, which we're going to go over and talk about in today's video. I didn't realize it, but the power adapter is actually quite a bit smaller for the GE78. Why didn't MSI include the smaller power adapter with the GT77 that costs even more? I have no idea. But we're gonna show you that today, all right? So we're gonna back this sucker up. We're gonna switch camera angles and let's lay this guy down. Scooch this out of the way. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So, whoa. It is a nice box. I do like this box quite a bit. It's a lot better box than the GT77, like I said. Jessica says, yay, very excited for this one. Yeah. It's better build quality. I have been seeing cooling issues on the Alienware. We'll have to see what the cooling is, because I don't think this has liquid metal, so that's probably one area where this thing could be upgraded by the user after buying it. All right, let's scoop this back a little bit more. All right, and we'll tilt it up. And let's flop this back down. All right, so opening it up, voila. There is another flap here. All right, opening it up. Here is a nice fabric-y cover for the laptop. And it has its own little tray that you can grab the laptop out of, which is kind of interesting. All right. So here's the shaboom. There it is. There's the laptop. It is it's not a small laptop by any means, but it is much smaller than the GT77, as you will see here soon. Okay, so let's set this behind the box for now. Oh, let me open it up. I'll just show you there is also a microfiber that it comes with. And this is a nice microfiber cloth. You can use that for getting all the fingerprints off, or at least helping you get the fingerprints off, because this black chassis does take fingerprints quite nicely. All right, opening this guy up now. Inside the box here, nothing in there, nothing over here. We have our MSI quick start guide. Let's open this up and see what's inside. Okay, so first up, we are here to help. They have a telephone support number right here, 1-888-447-6564. Monday through Friday, 24 hours a day. Limited warranty, it's a 12-month. All right. Limited warranty does not cover cosmetic damage or loss to any software programs or any due to the following: no accidents, misabuse, negligence. So this is not an accidental coverage on the warranty. Keep that in mind. Going to the quick start guide, this just is going to show us the basics about the ports of the laptop, where the webcam is, all of that. And the webcam on this one should be a bit better than the GT77. Not like a massive upgrade, but it should be a bit better because it is a full HD webcam. All right. Last but not least, here is the power brick. And like I mentioned, it is smaller than the GT77 power brick. Let's put everything away here. And I'll set the power brick side by side so you can see what it's like versus the GT77 power brick. There it is. All right. So there's the GT77 power brick. Shaboom on the left. Said that wrong. Sorry. This is the GE78HX power brick, not GT77. This right here, this is the GT77. So this power brick is about the same size as the Asus power bricks. All right. And then here is the Razer Blade 18 power brick. All right. So the Blade 18 is noticeably smaller than both of them. When I stack it side by side, you can see the size difference. All right, so about a ½ inch less wide and then a bit thinner. They probably weigh about the same. Maybe the Razer one's just a little bit lighter. All right. So let me put these back away again. Shawam, bam, bam. All right, and so here is the length of the power cable. It is about 6 feet long for the GE78HX. The power adapter cable is about 4 feet long, approximately. So total reach is going to probably just be a hair under 10 feet. Probably like 9 foot something. Let's go over the ports of the laptop. All right, so on the right side of the laptop, we have our speaker right here on the right, one of the speaker outputs. We have 2 USB-A on the right, and then we also have a USB-C with DisplayPort 1.4 and a fan exhaust. This laptop has rear ports still, which is pretty rare these days, actually. A lot of the laptops, the highest performance ones, got rid of their rear ports for better cooling. And so overall, we still have ports, though, which is nice. So we have the Ethernet port, HDMI 2.1, another USB-C with DisplayPort, and then our power adapter port. And then, of course, dual flanking exhausts on the left and right, and those are big, beefy exhausts. All right, and then on the left side, we have a Thunderbolt 4 with USB-C, power exhaust right here, a full-size SD card slot, a headset port, so you can use mic and audio, mic and headphones there. And then we have our left side port for the speakers, like the speaker output grill. And then on the front, we have a giant light bar, which you'll be able to see here in a moment. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing plugged in the back. Well, actually, we're gonna flip it upside down, and we're gonna take the bottom off. All right, that's what's happening next. I'm very curious to see how easy or hard this thing is to take the bottom off. The GT77 was not that easy, and I'm hoping MSI has improved the interface for dismantling the bottom. All right, so got my iFixit toolkit here. And we're going to take this bottom off. Looks like it's just Phillips head and fairly small Phillips head screws as well. All right. Interesting that these screws are silver. Almost all laptop screws these days are black. Like just the end of the screw is black and then the rest of the screw is silver. I dropped the screw. Okay. It didn't go under the couch, so we're good. Always gets a little worried, a little a little bit tense when you drop a screw because you never know where it might bounce to, and then it becomes impossible to grab again. Shabam, and let me go ahead and stand up. So it looks like there's 4 ports along the back, 4 ports along the front, 2 along the sides, and then 2 in the middle, looks like. So there's quite a few screws. Oh, there's 3 in the middle? There's quite a few screws in this guy. This should be a metal and plastic build. That is correct. It's mostly going to be plastic. And I don't mind that at all. It helps the laptop chassis stay cool to the touch. As long as it's high quality and it's not going to break on you, then and it's rigid enough, then I don't mind the plastic chassis at all. Gotta take these middle screws out. I'll put that over there. That's fine. All right, so we got one in the dead center. And there is a factory seal sticker on this one, which we are just going to ignore. All right. So I think that's all of the screws out of there now. Let's see how hard the bottom is to remove. Oh, yeah. All right. So, as always, I want to mention this is the Into the AM t-shirts. They are my favorite t-shirt brand. I've had this shirt for a couple of years now, and it is still in excellent condition. And the only thing you got to do is make sure, I like the cut and the material of the fabric as well. It's very good. So there's a link to 10% off if you want to get some shirts in the description. The coupon will automatically apply if you just click through that link. So it's very easy, and they have tons of different designs of high quality shirts. So yeah, if you end up buying any shirts, a small portion of whatever you buy ends up helping support my channel. So that's one way you can help support me as a content creator. All right. So I'm trying to figure out where I should try to start this separation. It's not your typical laptop bottom, that's for sure. I'm thinking I might actually start between the light bar, because I'm not sure where it actually is supposed to pry up. Because the plastic goes all the way up and around the edges of the laptop. This is a bit of a challenging one to take off. I wonder if there's anything special you're supposed to do with this guy. Try to pull it a little bit. I don't see anything. I think maybe this rear is probably going to be a very clear indicator. Once it starts coming up, it should be a lot easier to tell where it's where the best place to separate the chassis is, but all right, I think this is going to be a good one. Yeah, here we go. Right in the corner. All right, and now that I got a guitar pick in there, into the side, I should be able to use this prying tool, this little bit stronger tool, to get in there and just help start popping it up. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so looks like we need to take this rear thing off. We had to do this with the GP66. Before, when I took that back off. So we might have to remove this whole like little cover. So this cover comes off. All right. And now we might be able to start prying up the actual chassis, maybe. I don't know. This is definitely an interesting challenge. LOL, he makes it so easy. This is definitely not that easy. I don't know. This is one of the more tricky ones to get open, I would say. And having the right tools really helps. And so there's a link to this toolkit if you need the tools for doing this stuff. But yeah, so this thing is not easy to take off. But there it goes. All right. So I've got it started. I'm going to try to use the guitar pick to keep it going. I really hope MSI makes this easier in future iterations, because this is definitely not good on an enthusiast product when it's kind of a pain in the butt to take off. A lot of people are going to want to be upgrading the RAM or SSDs or whatever in this laptop, so. All right, so I think I got all of the back unpopped. Now we got to start working our way around the sides of the chassis. There we go. Nope, that's not it. There we go. All right, now we're in the groove. It's a little easier to get the thin toothpick into the groove here to keep the thing popping off. Getting around to the other side. All right, there we go. So we got about half of the chassis off now. Okay, now this is coming off really easily now. I think mainly just getting that rear part up is the biggest hurdle to getting the bottom of this thing off. And be very careful not to use metal tools. You do not want to use metal tools on something like this. You will damage the plastic so fast. There we go. All right. Voila. Voila, voila. I think we have like one more piece of plastic holding it down. It is so close to coming up. There we go. All right, so finally got it up. And let's go ahead and pop over here. Well, let's just reposition the camera in general to get a nice view as we take this thing off for the first time. All right. Voila. All right, so there it is. Okay, so, what's our layout look like? Interesting. Very interesting. All right, so we have a 99 watt-hour battery. Very nice, large capacity battery. We have our speaker on the left and right sides right here. That are downward firing. That should help with spatial audio if the software is set up correctly. We have our memory cover, which I'm not going to take that off because that can be a pain to put back on and take off. But our memory is inside of here if you wanted to upgrade it. So there is 2 SODIMM slots if you're interested in upgrading the memory. Where the GT77 Titan had 4 SODIMM slots. We have our 2 SSD slots right here. And there are little black shrouds that cover it if you're interested in getting your... it helps keep the SSD a little bit cool and helps prevent damage. Anything were to drop on it while it was coming up or down, as you're messing around inside here. I'd like to take a look at the SSD brand, if we can. It is difficult to see the brand. I don't see a brand on it. Something and the. Okay, it is a Samsung. There's just no logo on it to make it clear and easy to see what it is. But it is a Samsung SSD. All right. And we have for our Wi-Fi. For our Wi-Fi, we have an Intel Killer AX1690i. All right. Double Devin asks, only 2 fans, is that enough to keep it cool? That is a great question. We'll find out. Let's examine the heat pipe layout, okay? So, looking at the heat pipes in the back over here. Actually, let me scoot the camera forward a little bit so you can see a little better. Our GPU heat pipes. We have nice surround with the way the heat pipes are laid out here. This is going to allow for good heat dissipation out the exhausts on the left, right, and rears here. Notice that it's double heat pipe wide here, so that's going to help with like some of these side exhausts oftentimes only have one. Like this one only has a single, but this one's got a double over here, so that's going to help with the transferring the heat to the actual exhaust fins. For our GPU, we have our VRMs covered with this long heat pipe here. We've got a dedicated GPU only heat pipe here. We have 3 shared heat pipes between the CPU and the GPU, and then the CPU also has a VRM heat pipe right here. And so based on what I'm seeing, I think the CPU is going to get pretty high levels of performance, but I don't see how it's going to be able to match what the GT77 does in terms of performance. Maybe it's going to get close, but probably not quite there. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a high quality thermal pipe solution. I do like what Asus did and Alienware did with the 3rd and 4th fan potentially in here blowing air across and out the back. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thermal cooling solution does against the competition. I don't anticipate this is going to be as good at what Asus or Alienware has, but it might. Maybe it's going to surprise us. So I don't think there's anything else to look at in here. Overall, it's a good interior design, and you get a good amount of upgradability without having to flip the motherboard over. But I really wish that the bottom chassis could be taken off a little bit easier, right? So like that's especially for an enthusiast level product like this. So we're going to start, I think we're going to start by snapping it in at the front. Or should I start at the back? It's hard to know what the best way to snap this thing back together is, but I think the back's already snapped in. I'm not getting any snap-ins from the back. So it looks like putting it back together is really easy. Taking it apart's the tricky part. All right, so once we get the back cover on, we then need to put the little hinge cover in here. And I want to point out that you can see the internal hinge design. Might as well take a close-up of that while we got this off. Because I know that's going to be a very controversial thing. Because it's an MSI laptop and everyone wants to know if the hinges are going to survive. So you can see the hinge design here is all metal construction. And as long as the glue is good that connects to the screen, I don't know if there is any glue in this. That's the thing. So historically, MSI hinges have failed because the glue holding the screen together with the hinge comes undone. At least that's what happened with mine. And so the fact that it's an all metal construction here bodes well, I think, for this hinge design, and I'm hoping it's going to last and be a lot more, have a lot better longevity, you know, over the long haul. That'd be my hope, based on what I'm seeing here. So we'll have to see. So I just gotta get this last piece snapped together. Looks like it's very easy to get snapped together. Yep, there it is. Okay, so the bottom is back on. Now we need to just screw everything back together. Chat, feel free to ask any questions. I'll be checking chat here as I screw these in. Okay. One thing, so I don't love the price of this RTX 4080 version of the GE78. You know, because it's $35.99 is pretty steep, I think, for an RTX 4080. I think the 4090 version is not such a bad deal, though, because it's only $400 more. So it's right in line with the performance gain, bang for the buck. Comparatively speaking, the 4090 version, I think, is actually the better performance per dollar, if I were to guess. Which is different, because that's not what I would expect typically in the market. Because this one's only $35.99 for a 4080. The 4090 version is only $39.99, which is $100 more than the Scar 18. But when you compare this 4080 version against the Strix G18, which is literally $1,000 less, I think the 4080 version just does not scream good performance per dollar. So I really think the 4090 version is where you're going to want to go. And I imagine MSI is going to see their pricing mistake and probably either lower the price of the 4080 version or increase the price of the 4090 version, one of the two. But I imagine, my hope is that this thing will go down in price to, say, I'm hoping like $3,200 or maybe $3,000 would be my target price, what I think this thing is worth, versus the competition, probably. So we'll see. Lance Talley with the $10 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Lance was the one that let me borrow his Scar 18. So I gave you another shout out in today's video, by the way. All right, yeah, thank you so much for the super chat and support, though. It does help me as a content creator. I got several people working for me now, helping me edit videos and manage my list. So all of the donations are very much appreciated. And if you're interested in helping support the channel, you can also become a member, which does come with some perks. I'm not going to go into all of them today, but if you want, it's like a Patreon membership, if you will. It starts at $5 a month if you want to become a member, and it puts you on a list to potentially buy the review units that I buy. So anyway, and it also changes your name in chat, so I know who's a member, and I can try to respond to your questions a little bit more eagerly than everyone else. Okay, so let's take off this plastic piece. All right, this is very shiny, by the way. That's like, it looks like a mirror. This little MSI logo. You guys see that? It literally looks like a mirror. It should also light up. It'll be RGB, multicolor, and it's custom. So let's turn this sucker back on. The hinge is very firm, by the way. It feels good. This hinge, let me show you. Like, it sticks wherever I put it. which is really good. It's I think a stronger hinge than what I'm seeing on almost all of the other big screen laptops right now, except maybe the Razer Blade. So, and I did already set up Windows Hello, and there's Windows Hello logging me in right away. And I can tell this display is very colorful and bright already. It's at least as good as the Alienware M16 display, if not better. It's at least 350 nits, QHD 240 hertz, and gorgeous. It's very colorful. Oh, right. Thank you, guys. Thanks. You're not seeing the laptop. Here you go. So there's the display. We need to restart, actually, because I was just updating the NVIDIA driver. New NVIDIA drivers came out today. So latest drivers are on this guy now. Can I restart now? I clicked restart now and nothing's happening. So let's take a detailed look over at the chassis and do the flex test. Look at this beautiful RGB light bar in the front. It is arguably more unique and interesting looking, I think, than what the Strix Scar series has overall. Like, especially when you look at like how each individual thing is so bright, and it's kind of got this unique like look to it. I don't know. It's almost like there's individual RGB LEDs that are being lit up. That said, I mean, the Strix series also looks gorgeous, but this is just going to be a little bit more noticeable to the user because you can see it when you're looking down at the laptop in your lap, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Like the Scar and Strix, the lights mainly go down, and so it's not distracting to you as a user when you're using the laptop. But this comes up and hits you in the face, like if you're watching a movie or something. I'm sure you can turn off the RGB if you're watching a movie and you don't want to see it, but still. Wow, it even logged me in. Like, I'm to the side of the laptop right now, and the camera must be wide enough to actually pick me up for Windows Hello, not sitting directly in front of it. Most laptops, you need to be sitting like smack dab in the middle to be able to get picked up on Windows Hello, so I really like that. All right, so flex test. Here we go. Going around the side. So right here, no flex, no flex, no flex, no flex, no flex. Pretty much, oh, just a little bit of flex here. No flex, no flex, no flex. Very little bit of flex right here. No flex, no flex, no flex. A little bit of flex on the side here again. And we're back to no flex. Now going through the middle. Flex, a little bit of flex, moderate amount of flex above the touchpad, as almost all laptops have. A decent amount of flex. Going through the keyboard, definitely have some flex when pressing hard, but I don't think you're going to see or notice that flex under normal typing. So overall, this thing feels very rigid with a very sturdy hinge design. I like this hinge design. This is probably the best hinge design we've seen from MSI ever, I think. That'd be my guess right now, at least, okay? All right, so zooming into the keyboard, give you a close-up of the keyboard here. You can see the translucent keys, and let me go and just turn this off, turn the lights off so you can see the keyboard backlight a little bit better. And this keyboard does look really good. All of the secondary symbols are lit up. These WASD keys look really interesting at night, but I don't love it, me personally. Someone else might love it. Plenty of people might love it, but not me. I prefer if they just kept it normal throughout, because it also just looks, I don't know. I like it being more uniform, but other people will like it, you know, completely changing up how it looks and everything. So, okay, so that should be the brightest right there. Looking over to the right side, you'll be able to see this has the same layout as the GT77 as far as key functionality goes. This is the same layout with a smaller number pad, lit arrow keys that are like the arrows. I like these. These are good. I like this. And I love the secondary functions of activating the crosshair, changing the fan mode, pausing and playing music right here. I like that. That's good. I just don't like the translucent keys. I don't love the translucent keys. Let me put it that way. One other thing I want to point out is I muted this earlier, and this mute key function actually has a light up, which is pretty cool. So if I unmute it, the light goes away. It's kind of like a caps lock light. So you can tell if the laptop is muted just at a quick glance, which is pretty cool. All right. And let's go ahead and do a little close-up of the light bar as well, and the MSI logo. So there's the light bar, and it is very colorful and bright. It looks very good, I think. And let's check out the back. So there is the MSI logo. It's basically just the dragon part lights up, but the whole thing is reflective. And nothing else on the rear is light up. There's no rear RGB light up, light bar, or no lights coming out the vents or anything. It's just focusing on the RGB to the front. All right. Beautiful. Is the screen aspect ratio 16:10? Yes, it is. Mike says, can you check how this laptop behaves in stress tests with custom user fan profiles when fans are set to 50% at any temperature? Will it go to 150% fans? We're not going to do that specific of a test, Mike, but we'll be testing out a few different things. When it comes to performance numbers, I usually try to do with my tests at the highest levels of fan noise. We are not getting power. I need to plug this guy in. We're still on battery power, I think. Yeah, there we go. All right. Shwam. We are now plugged in. Notice the screen just changed this refresh rate from 60 all the way up to should be 240 hertz now. All right. As far as I can tell, the display did not change in brightness, but how many nits is the screen? We're about to find that out, my friend. Shall we do a screen display test next? I think we shall. Let's load up our Spyder 5. Dun dun dun. So this is a color calibration and display quality checker. And I'm very curious to see what the display brightness and color gamut is on here, because it's obviously a very good display, and it's very competitive with the higher end displays this year, but I don't think it's quite as good as the very best displays yet. But we're gonna find out. So I need to go ahead and pop this open. I've got to put my code in here. I forgot to put this in ahead of time. Okay, so here we are. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's find out the nits brightness. Wrong one. There we go. All right. This touchpad is very nice. It is one of the better touchpads out there for sure. But I would say the Razer touchpad's still a little bit nicer. It's very close though. All right. Let me make sure this display is at 100% brightness. We are at 100% brightness. And also, I believe there's a display. Yeah, so there's this true color. Can you guys see this? you can set whether you want it to be focusing on the P3 color gamut, Office, Movie, Adobe RGB, sRGB, Anti-Blue, or Gamer. I would probably be using Gamer mainly, but we're going to do Display P3 for our initial test. It should be, basically, I think Gamer would basically just increase the contrast ratio and maybe make things a little bit punchier with saturation, which you want if you want to just enjoy the display. You don't need to do that, or you probably don't want to do that if you want to do graphical design work, though. Can you compare the size versus other laptops? Yes, we need to do that. I got the GT77 there, the Strix G18 right there. We're gonna stack these laptops on top of each other and see the difference in size. Does this display have FreeSync or G-Sync? Mike, it does not, to the best of my knowledge. And the GT77 does not either. And I have not been able to tell the difference, me personally. I'm very sensitive to that kind of stuff. And as long as you're hitting high enough frame rates, I don't think you really need it. That's my take on it. That said, if there's very specific applications you know it's much better with or whatever, feel free to not buy this for that reason. You know, I do think it's nicer if you have it when you're, for example, if you're going to go with sub 60 frame rate gaming, say you eventually are playing games where you're only getting 35 to 50 FPS a few years from now, that's when I think G-Sync can really make a big difference. But I don't think we're going to have any games like that with this laptop. We're just going to be killing it with this laptop. We're going to be doing over 100 FPS in most games. And if you add over 100 FPS, you're just going to never notice G-Sync or FreeSync, in my opinion. So has the Blade 18 a better screen at the first sight? I think the Blade 18 is a little bit brighter, but we're gonna find out for sure. This is I think this is very similar in terms of color gamut to what the Blade 18, Scar 18, Strix G18 have. But I'm thinking this is probably like a 350 nits brightness display is what I'm thinking, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out here in just like literally like a minute. So does it feel like a metal or plastic build? So I believe this top deck right here is metal, and the metal lid there's also a metal lid, but there's a plastic here around the hinge, and we got plastic on the bottom for sure. So yeah, there's definitely a good amount of plastic. It's a mix of metal and plastic. Anthony says, amazing. I was waiting for this exact unit to be reviewed. Cool, man. I'm glad. I think this laptop is going to be in higher demand than the GT77 simply because it's more reasonably priced. Oop, this fell down a little bit. Should be good. I might have to redo it if the result is all wonky. Okay. So what did we get? Let's find out. All right, so we got 100% of sRGB as anticipated, 89% of Adobe RGB, and 87% of the P3 color gamut. Now, this is the Spyder 5 Elite, and I believe it undermeasures the color gamut of the laptops by about 10% of the P3 color gamut-ish. So this is probably more like 97% of the P3 color gamut and like 95, 96% of the Adobe RGB, something like that. Yeah, that's just a lack. I need to get a new tool, but this is what I got right now. This color gamut is about 3 or 4% less than what we saw on the Blade 18 and about 3% less than we saw on the Scar 18. So a little bit less on the color gamut side. For brightness, we got 18 nits brightness on the low side, and we got 368 nits brightness on the high side. 750 to 1 for the contrast ratio. But I'm going to do this again for at least the brightness, because I think it was not positioned correctly for at least part of the test. So I just want to make sure that it's done correctly. It only takes about 30 seconds to redo it, so why not? Alyssa says the GT77 has a better screen. Yes. Oh, yeah. The GT77 has a much better screen, but the response rate on this QHD 240Hz display should be much better than what the GT77 has. So, all right. So yeah, we're good. We're still positioned right. Screen was blurry, couldn't read the numbers. Okay, well, we're retesting it anyway, so you'll be able to read the numbers a little better here in a second. Do you recommend the GE78 over the SCAR 18? That depends on who you are and what you want out of your system. The SCAR 18 is a little bit bigger. The SCAR 18, I think, has a little bit better cooling system, but we're going to figure that out. Hopefully by the end of today, if the SCAR 18 has a little better thermals. And then I would say the GE78 and the SCAR 18 have about the same level of cool factor in terms of RGB implementation. The SCAR 18 has a better display. It's brighter and has slightly more color, and it's a bigger display. The GE78 has Windows Hello and better ports. So if you want to have better port selection, a full-size SD card reader, another USB, I believe, this guy has it, right? This guy's got, I think, another USB-C and then a full-size SD card reader. So that's gonna help. That's gonna help a lot of people have enough ports to do what they need to do in a day-to-day use scenario. So there it is. Let's go ahead and find out if this result is any different. It might not be. So we got 369 and a little bit better contrast ratio. So that's good. Maybe that's what was changed. So 770 to 1. 369 for the highest nits brightness. So basically 370 nits and 770 for the contrast ratio. It's a very nice display. It's basically very similar in terms of display quality as the Alienware M16. And I think the vast majority of people are going to be super happy with this display. I kind of wish the contrast ratio was a little bit better as well, but it's still an excellent display, and it's going to be hard to, in my opinion, it's hard to complain about this display. It's so much better than basically any display that was available 2 years ago. It's a higher color gamut and high resolution, high refresh rate, and should be absolutely excellent for gaming. So I'm very excited to try it out. Pretty decent brightness. Yeah, it's got good brightness, and it's got a good level of overall color gamut, right? It's very colorful, and I think the main area where the brightness might be a noticeable difference is going to be if you are in very bright environments. Maybe you're in a very sunny office or have a very sunny home. That's where it's going to be more of a noticeable difference, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to pop the SD card reader that I have in here, and let's see how quickly this transfers, transferring one of these clips. We'll do a reasonably sized clip here. All right, so our transfer rate for our SD is 86, 84, 87, 86, 86. So not a super fast SD card reader, but it's faster than using my USB cable. My USB cable only gets me about 40 or so. And this at least gets me 85, which would be double the speed. But if you're a video editor that needs a super fast SD card reader because you do tons of 4K clips, this SD card reader is not super fast. It is still an SD card reader, which does add a lot of functionality in my opinion. Now, let's see here. So next up, I'm just going to try to cool down a little bit. Okay, let's see here. So let's go ahead and compare this guy side by side with several other different laptops. First, we have the MSI GT77. All right, we're going to line up the back corner, and you can see the difference here. Wow. It is a pretty substantial difference in size. Try to help you see that corner edge, but it's about, I would say, 3/4 of an inch narrower, and then about 1.5 inches less deep. Right there. So it's going to be able to fit into a lot more backpacks for sure, the GE78. Let's go ahead and do the Strix G18, which is also the same size as the Scar 18. All right, so here's the Strix G18. And when we compare that against the here, you can see it's almost the exact same depth, but it's not as wide. So the primary difference here is in the width of the overall chassis. And in terms of the depth, I didn't really show you the GT77 depth, but it's very similar as far as how deep these guys are. So they're very similar thickness. Let's do the Blade 18 next. And I can do the Blade 16 as well. Well, I'm glad I got my Blade 18 out, because this sucker was in my backpack, which is never good. So there's the Blade 18. And there's the, well, I would say the GE. So it's weird because the GE is deeper. Okay, so it's deeper here, but it's not as wide. The Blade 18 is a wider laptop, but narrower. And the Blade 18 is also going to be thinner here. So if I hold it up, you can see the Blade 18 is overall a thinner chassis, especially at the back end here. Any HDR, Brit? I don't know if it does have HDR or not. All right, here is the Blade 16. Extremely portable. Look at how much smaller the Blade 16 is. It's very much a smaller laptop. It's kind of surprising actually how much smaller it is. Okay, beautiful. All right. Blade 18 is much slimmer than the others. Yeah, it is. The Blade 18 is the smallest 18-inch laptop, big laptop for sure. But this one's also, you know, this one was deeper, but it wasn't as wide. So in a one sense, this one is a little more portable than the Blade 18. depending on what kind of portability you're looking for. Now, let me go ahead and just give you an idea of the keyboard. So the keyboard travel is good. It feels good. It has some good depth to it, good rigidity. And I love that there's a number pad. The arrow keys are full size or almost full size. And the tilde is a little small, but overall, I like the functionality and everything of this touchpad or this keyboard layout. It's good. The touchpad itself is large. It's smooth. It's big enough to do gestures, and it's got a good click. I think the click could still be better. Okay. Like I kind of wish it wasn't quite as loose. You know, when you touch it, like the feel of like an Apple or a Razer touchpad just has a little better feel to it, a little more firmness. And that's it. I think the Razer click should also still be better. Like the MacBook Pro click is just the best. But in terms of the feel of the touchpad, it's very smooth and it's very large. It's positioned just right. And this laptop, since this keyboard deck is a metal keyboard deck, it feels nice and premium when you're using the laptop. I will say that much. So just a reminder of this is metal. The top deck is metal. This little black piece on the back, this is plastic. Okay, so the rear piece is plastic. On the bottom, this whole thing is this right here is plastic. This is metal. Okay, so this half of the bottom is metal. The rest of this is plastic. All right, plastic on the back, plastic on the front, 2/3. This last 1/3 is metal. And then, of course, the light bar is going to be plastic. And then the keyboard deck here, this whole keyboard deck is metal. So it's about half metal, half plastic, maybe a little more. It's like 2/3 metal, maybe. And it feels like a nice premium experience, I think. Webcam quality, great question. Let's dive into that. So, oh, interesting. It's very clear, but it is kind of noisy. All right, so this is, I'm going to turn off my fan for a moment. All right, so this is me talking on the webcam. I'm going to type. I am typing now. How does it sound? How does it look? It's an above average webcam for gaming laptops for sure. I'm not in that well lit of an environment. I think the noisiness of this would go down in a brighter environment. But it's also not as good as what's on the Blade 18. It is better than almost all the other gaming laptops in terms of webcam quality, though. I still think it could be better, though. Like it's like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10, when most of the other gaming laptops are like a 5 out of 10. Does that make sense? So, and I would say the Blade 18 is like a 7.5 or 8, maybe. If MacBook Pro face cams were like a 10. So we're going to try to open the photos. I just want to show you the full size image of the photo, because after it processes the photo, it probably is going to be better quality than it would be otherwise. Okay, so how do I just open this photo? Okay, there it is. All right. So I'm zooming in right here on the photo, and you can see that's definitely an above average webcam for a webcam. That's not for today. And here's the video. Should be able to play the video. Can I just open this file? There we go. All right, so this is, I'm gonna turn off my fan for a moment. All right, so this is me talking on the webcam. I'm typing now. How does it sound? How does it look? It's an above average webcam for gaming laptops for sure. I'm not in that well lit of an environment. I think the noisiness of this would. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely an above average webcam for sure. Yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Does the webcam have a physical cover? Yes, it does. So if I bring this over, can you guys see the physical cover? So you can just do that, and it actually covers it with a shutter. So you can have no webcam or webcam, which is good for privacy's sake. Beautiful. And the mic sounded pretty dang clear as well. I was pretty impressed with the mic quality. All right, so I'm going to turn my fans up. Let's go, because it's just kind of getting warm in this room, and I don't want it to get too hot. All right. Looks like we have to update MSI Center. Let's go ahead and let it do the update. But I'm going to walk you through MSI Center so you can understand what it is. And then we'll also set things to extreme performance mode. M. Shinoda asks, what 18-inch laptop so far has the best webcam? It's the Blade 18. So far, the Blade 18 has the best webcam. It's a 5 megapixel. Don asks, did you try Cinebench in silent mode? I have not. Kareem says, is it better to get a 2022 Legion 5i Pro than getting a 2023 model? It depends on pricing and all of that. It makes a big difference. Is this 13th gen Intel? Yes, it is. It's got, we'll check. Let's go ahead and just open the system properties. But it should have the i9-13980HX. So this has the very best processor available from Intel. Where can you see the whole config site? There's a link in the video description to the gaming laptop list. This is the RTX. So right here, we can just pull up the... Let me move my camera over. And I'll go ahead and pull up the config for this GE78. So it's right here. This is the this is the specs. It's a QHD 240Hz with a 2 terabyte SSD, 17-inch 16 by 10, RTX 4080 175 watt. Supposed to be 64 gigs. Let me just double check that that's correct. 64 gigs of DDR5. Yeah, it's supposed to have 64 gigs of DDR5 and a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. So yeah, this thing's got some high-end specs for sure. But there are links on where you can buy this laptop in this laptop list. Okay? All right, so. Isn't this the Raider series? They don't call it Raider no more. This is the Raider series. Correct, Clark. I just didn't put it in the title. I probably should. All right. Beautiful. Let me just make sure this display is all positioned correctly and that we're in focus. I think we are. MSI is updating. Let's try modifying our display. So that's gamer. Anti-blue, sRGB, Adobe RGB, display P3, Office. Wow, gamer definitely looks more vibrant to me. Okay, so inside of here, you can monitor your hardware. You can see where your CPU and GPU usage is, though I would never really use this to monitor because it's not as exhaustive as what HW info is. Inside of the user scenario, so you click on features, you go to user scenario, and here you can set up the different performance modes. You have discrete graphics mode, hybrid mode, which allows you to switch between the NVIDIA GPU and integrated GPU on the fly, or integrated graphics only mode if you want to maximize your battery life. So today we're going to be switching this to discrete graphics mode. And we're also going to set it to extreme performance. Let me go ahead and just set it to extreme performance. And we're going to turn on cooler booster. And there's the fans coming on. You probably can hear them. I'll turn it so you can hear them. I also have my other fan going, and the room fan going at high. But we're going to go ahead and switch to discrete graphics mode and restart. Oh, sorry, guys. It was on the wrong cam. All right, so we'll have to redo that. I'll show you guys that again. I'm going to go and turn the light off behind me so you can see the laptop display a little better. So there's Windows Hello logging me in very quickly. All right, so let's go over the little HDR display options once again, and I'll go over the MSI Center one more time. Does the Blade 16 have the same webcam as the 18? No, the 16 is a lower quality camera, lower resolution, but it's about the same as this one. Not too much of a difference. Okay, so here's the different gamer modes. Let's do anti-blue, sRGB, Adobe RGB, Display P3, Office, and Movie. Gamer definitely seems a little bit more vibrant and contrasty to me. So we're going to leave it in Gamer. And let's go ahead and let's do... Should we do Cinebench next? I got to show you MSI after Center, MSI Center. So this is the MSI Center app. It lets you change a lot of different things. There is a smart auto mode if you want to try that out. Extreme performance mode is how you can overclock the system inside of here if you want to do it inside of here. I would usually use Afterburner instead, but you can set the fans to auto or cooler booster. Cooler booster sets the fans to maximum. All right, 100% max. Luis Rafael, I review the SteelSeries? Very likely we'll be reviewing the SteelSeries, yeah. All right, so you can also set fan profiles inside of here if you want to target a specific level of fan noise, which is really nice. All right. Can you compare the noise of the fans between the GT77 and GE78? I can tell you the GE78 is a little bit quieter on the fans. I'm not going to do it actively right now, but that's not a bad option or not a bad thing to think about sometime in the future. I just need to get into, if we're going to get everything done today that I want to get done, I got to keep moving. So next up, we're going to do Cinebench R23. Let's do it. Let's see what we get. They might as well get hover functionality with all that fan action. That would be funny. Man. Without worrying about the cost, would I prefer the Raider or the Titan? I would probably buy the Raider. If I had to buy one or the other, I would buy the Raider. Because it's a little more portable. And And more importantly, the QHD 240 hertz display is better for me because I am an esports player and I want the higher refresh rate. But if you're a casual gamer or you really want a vibrant and bright display, then the 144 hertz 4K display that's like 1000 nits on the GT77 is better. And so for more casual gamers, I think the GT77 would be the way to go. Okay, so you can see right here in the voltage offsets, we are not undervolted at all. This is going to be a stock run. All right, so we're going to see what we get stock. You can see we do have 64 gigs of RAM. Our core temperatures are 36 degrees right now. Okay, so let's see what we get. Oh, we're on a 10-minute test. We don't want to do a 10-minute test. We're going to do a regular test first. Mike says, is this fan curve editor maximum temperature with which user is allowed to control the fan still 80 degrees? I'm not sure, Mike. I have to check it. Oh, wait, what? 33,800? A stock? No undervolting? What? Whoa. What? Okay, so someone wants me to try silent mode. Let's try a silent mode. All right. We'll try a silent mode. Let's see what we get silent mode. All right. I'm not anticipating insane performance. Our power levels in silent mode is only 30 watts. Our peak during that last run was 207 watts. Jiminy Christmas. Okay, so yeah, this is super throttling you in silent mode. 1.5, 1.7 gigahertz. So yeah, silent mode is not going to be very good. It's probably going to be like 12,000 points or something like that. Antonio, we are going to run it again here in a moment. Someone asked me to do this. I'll just pop it. I'm just doing this real quick and then we'll switch back. Shh, don't tell anyone. Let's buy it before them. Well, I'm guessing it's not going to be able to maintain 33,800 points. That is absurd. 13,138 for silent mode. And it's very hard to hear the fans now over the other fan that I have going on. Okay, so there you go. All right, so going back to extreme performance mode. You can hear those fans going. All right. Let's do a 5-run average, okay? Let's do a 5-run average. 191 watts. Oh, we are hitting the thermal limit right away. 180 watts. But our clock speeds are excellent. 4.5, 4.4 gigahertz. Very insane. Very insane indeed. 176. So we got 32,763 on that run. I'm very curious to see what this throttles down to. We're going to do a 5 runs and just kind of see where it goes after 5 runs worth. Our core temps are only at 84 degrees, but our CPU package is at 94. So we are going to run into thermal throttling at 95 degrees with this chassis. 31,412. Man, that initial run at 33,800. It is the best initial run I've seen on a laptop so far. So MSI just lets this thing fly during its initial turbo boost period. We're still hitting 160 watts right now. That is really good. 31,089. So we're basically throttling down to around 31,000 so far, which is higher than what the GT77 was. GT77 was throttling down to 135 watts, which is weird. That's weird. I feel like the GT77 should have been throttling down to like 152 or something. It's like, yeah, we'll see. Okay, so 30,688. We'll do a 10-minute test. I'm going to get this thing a chance to cool down a little bit, dissipate the heat that we built up during that 5 run. And then after it cools down a little bit, we are going to try a 10-minute test. I also need to elevate the rear of the laptop up a ½ inch because it's not elevated right now. GT7 now has been relegated to be a piece of trash. No. But still, that is impressive, right? That is very impressive that they're able to pull this level of performance off in a much smaller overall package. All right, so once we get closer to 40 degrees on our CPU cores, okay, so our cores are now at 40 degrees. Why does it say Windows 10? I have no idea. This is Windows 11. I'm not even sure where you're talking about. So, okay. All right, so we're at 40 degrees right now. Let's go ahead and run our 10-minute test and see what we get out of the box. I am resetting the power limits, so we're going to see what we average for our power limit and for our CPU. Wow, it just does 4.65 gigahertz out of the box. It's just roaring and ready to go. 203 watts pulled through that CPU right off the gate. Oh my goodness, that is insane. Super impressed with the initial power draw. So if you do a lot of, I don't know, video editing where you need to just do lots of like quick spurts, this thing is going to do really, really well in that. So, sorry if it wasn't focused, I just refocused it. So, we're coming down from 4.7 during the initial launch. We're coming down, now we're at 4.2, 4.3. For a brief moment there, it jumps above 5 gigahertz in between runs. So right now, we're just hitting thermal throttling nonstop at 96 degrees, 95 degrees. On the CPU package. So far, our average power draw has been 168. Jessica Tenorino says, much better than the Scar 18. It is a higher level of performance, but it's also higher levels of temperatures. And we have yet to undervolt this thing. So we're gonna see what this gets in a 10-minute score, and then we're gonna undervolt it, and we'll see what we get for our continuous like five test run. I don't know if we'll do another 10-minute test or not. Probably not. But we'll do it like at least after we undervolt it with a moderate undervolt, we'll do a 5-run test and see what we get for our initial run. The G18 is $1,100 cheaper though. True. Very true. And yeah, the G18 doesn't have Windows Hello, and it does have a little better screen. Yeah. Haunted Boy asks, what is the benefits of undervolting? So undervolting is essentially running the processor at a higher level of efficiency than what Intel initially spec'd it as, because there's a varying quality to different Intel chips. They have to overvolt all of the chips to make sure they're all stable, but most of the chips can run at a lower voltage. So basically when you undervolt, you are reducing the voltage to the CPU, so it reduces heat and usually can increase the clock speed for the same level of power going through the CPU. So undervolting is a long, it's been a It's been around for a lot of years now, and it's basically proven to enhance your overall performance by about 5 to 10%, depending on the chip and what your silicon lottery is. If it's above average chip, maybe it goes up to 10% performance gain. And if it's not that great, maybe it's only a 3% performance gain. But on average, it's probably 5 to 7% performance gain for most chips. All right, so looking at our power draw, we are now falling down to 143 watts right now, 134 watts. So we're coming back down. We're coming back down to where the GT77 Titan was at 135 watts on our long power limit. So Haunted Boy says, is that used to make chips energy efficient? Yeah, undervolting makes chips more energy efficient, because most chips can be more energy efficient. Just Intel can't make them all more energy efficient because some of them are not capable of doing it. So it's on a per chip basis, basically. Some CPUs can undervolt more than others. It's heating. Yafik31, yes, it is. That is what happens after a long extended period of time. The temperatures in a chassis will heat up, and then the thermal limits or long power limits will kick in, and you'll get reduced levels of performance. Right now, we're actually below thermal throttle because we're being limited down to 135 watts. So this is acting very similarly to the MSI GT77. And yeah, I'm expecting to get basically the same levels of performance from this machine as the GT77 when it comes to CPU performance. Like it's 10 minutes. Its 10-minute Cinebench should be very close. And I'm hoping the Undervolt will also be very good on this one. I'm hoping we can push it maybe. I mean, we got 33,800 in a single run without undervolting. With an undervolt, I'm hoping we can push 37,000, maybe. Niebuhr says, gains are also more efficient at ISO power. My i7-10875H got an 18% power reduction at 100% core load at the same speed. Because Asus caps the undervolting at 80 millivolts, it couldn't go any lower. So, Double David asks, how hot is the keyboard and trackpad feel right now? That's a great question. They feel completely cool. The keyboard feels just a little bit of warmth. But the wrist rest and touchpad are perfectly cool, which is great. I love that. ISO clock, not ISO power. Okay. Gotcha. Steve says, stock specs are set by the worst chips of Silicon Lottery, so most chips have a margin to undervolt. That's correct. Judging by the back cover, it's perfect with a cooling pad. Yeah. No, this should be an excellent laptop to boost performance with a cooling pad, because there are tons of holes along the bottom of the chassis for air intake. So if you get a bunch of air being shoved up inside those fans and lots of fresh air being brought in, it should noticeably reduce temperatures. So our average for the 10-minute run so far, we're 7 minutes in. It's 4.09 gigahertz on the performance cores, 3.35 on the E cores. So this is right around what we've seen with the GT77, and very similar to what we saw with the Asus Strix G18 and Scar 18. Though the Scar 18 and Strix G18 could go 5 watts higher to 140. Haunted Boy says, thanks, man. Really love the live streams. Getting to know a lot about the in-depth performance analysis of laptops and what certain terms mean. Really appreciate it. No problem, Haunted Boy. I'm glad you could be here on the stream and participate. It's good to have you guys. It's way more fun for me as a reviewer being able to test all these laptops with a bunch of other people. It's super sweet. So it's Otherwise, you know, when you're testing laptops, it's kind of can get a little lonely, honestly. Like you're just like sitting there, okay, run it for 10 minutes. What do I do now in the meantime? But with you guys here, I feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So thank you very much. All right. It's fun to be part of the testing process. Yeah, it is. It is interesting, right? Like you don't really get to do this with any of the other review channels, at least that I know of. So this is pretty. It's pretty cool. Mike says GT77 was 135 watt about after a 10-minute Cinebench test. That's correct. So this is basically matching the GT77 step for step, other than the fact that its initial Cinebench R23 score was better. This scored a little higher out of the box, which makes me wonder if this i9 that we have inside of this laptop is maybe a little bit better on the Silicon Lottery side of things. I would not be surprised. So we're into the last minute of the Cinebench test. We have averaged 80 degrees for our core temps, 91 degrees on our CPU package power. That's fantastic. Overall, considering how much power we're putting through here, it's good. The Asus laptops did have slightly better cooling. You know, the package power was, I think, 85 degrees for the Asus Strix G18 and SCAR 18. So it's a little bit better on those ones. And at the same time, they were pushing 5 more watts. But this thing can undervolt more severely and more heavily. So I'm anticipating that this thing's going to do just a little bit more after we undervolt it. But the Asus laptops should also be able to undervolt here in the near future to a stronger degree. Mike says, would be interesting to compare performance at same noise level between the GT77 and the GE78. Yeah, that's interesting. I imagine the GT77 would do a little bit better because it's got 4 fans, so you could run the fans at lower levels of RPM and still move the same amount of air. Okay, so our 10-minute stock test, we got 30,478. It's time to undervolt this bad boy. Let's go. All right, so to undervolt, we need to press the power button, and then we need to tap the delete key as the MSI logo comes up. All right, that puts us into the BIOS. Then we need to press the left Alt, right Control, right Shift, and then F2, and that loads up our advanced BIOS. All right, and we're going to go over to advanced. We're going to go down to our overclocking performance menu. We're going to enable overclocking. We're going to disable undervolt protection. We're going to go down to our processor. We are going to try an aggressive undervolt right off the bat. Let's see if we can do a minus 150. I have a good feeling about the CPU. Please don't crash on me. Notice that I had to change it to a negative. You need to change those to a negative. We're going to do minus 150 on the E-core cache. And then for our ring, which is our regular cache, we're going to do minus 100. Another strong undervolt. Let's see. This is going to be the same undervolt settings as the GT77 that I tested previously. So, and that's been stable at these undervolt levels. So let's see if this GE78 is stable at these levels. We might end up having to reformat Windows again. I hope not. Probably will not. Typically speaking, undervolting is very safe, but if you do undervolting, it is at your own risk. Know that I'm not responsible for what you do with your own laptop. You're responsible. That said, in my experience, it's been safe for me as long as I don't mess up the settings. It's very important not to mess up the settings. If you do the wrong setting, it can mess things up in your machine. So, all right, so we are logged back in. So far, things have appeared stable. without issue. So let's load Cinebench back up and HW info. And we're going to turn off all notifications for that. We're going to quit that. Very nice. And let's verify. Let's verify that our Undervolt settings were applied. So inside of HW info, it's not here. Why isn't it there? Usually it's right under here. You'll be able to see if there's an offset or not, but it's not being shown. Interesting. Weird. All right, so just a moment ago, we were able to verify there was no undervolt applied, and it would be right here normally, right here by this voltage and TDP power. Looking around if there's if it got moved somehow. There's our GPU. Huh. Weird. Well, let's see. Let's just try a run and see if we get a higher level of performance or not, or if we have any instability. Hold on. We have OneDrive. Stop. We have OneDrive trying to sync stuff. I'm going to pause syncing. All right. All right, here we go. Let's go. So I have not disabled anything related to virtualization. I have not disabled core memory isolation. I have not disabled virtual machine platform. I'm not trying to undervolt with Intel XTU or utilize Intel XTU at all. And I'm going to see if we get any undervolting performance gains or not. 36,673. Shabalagoo. I think. Is that higher? Is that higher than what the GT77 got? I don't think so. So our undervolt is applied. We didn't have to disable virtualization at all. Let's do a 5-run test and see what we get for a 5-run test. 36,673 though is insane. GT77. Oh yeah, the GT77 got 35K at these settings. We only got this high when we did the ring at -150. So I guess that shows you the Silicon Lottery variation is probably the biggest thing I would say there. 36,474. Let me pull up sticky notes and we'll just get our 5-run average. And I gotta open HW info again. Time to call Guinness. Okay, so here we are. We'll do a 5-run average and see what we get. How is this laptop? I have the 4090 back ordered. I'm so excited. I've been very impressed with this laptop so far. We're testing the undervolt out. 36,081. Interesting. Well, it's not as high. I'm gonna let this thing cool down for a minute. All right, we're gonna let it We're going to let it cool down. I want to make sure, because we were just running several runs back to back. I want to make sure that we have no heat buildup right now. Have I been able to make the camera work on the GE78HX? What do you mean? Yeah. Engineered appliance. We just tested the webcam just a moment ago, and it looked pretty good. It looked above average for a webcam for a gaming laptop. The stock i9 13900K desktop is $37,000 LOL. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It depends on how you probably tune the i9. I know you can go over 40K with the i9 with a little bit of tuning. All right, so let's see what we get now with a 5-run average. A 36,000, holy coly, is that not good? Oh, it's so good. It is so good. It is very, very good. But you're just coming in after we've already saw that it got 33,800 stock. We're undervolting it right now to see what we get with an undervolt. So 36,461. 36,461. Boom, there's our first score. And this is probably not with the maximum undervolt. We could probably undervolt this sucker a little bit further. It would probably go over 37K with a bit more undervolting. 35,388. Sucks the Scar 1823. 2023 has a 720p. Yeah, the best webcam right now in a laptop is the Blade 18, as far as I can tell. But this and the Blade 16 were the second best. 34,956. 34,956. Impressive. This is so impressive. How's the temps now? We're not checking the temps right now, Wemo. I just got to make sure that I can get these tests back to back and write them down. We'll do a 10-minute run and see. We'll check everything. I'm sure the temps will still max out, but it'll just be a higher clock speed. 34,354. And our last run for our 5-run average. The average CPU consumption should remain the same. That's right, Mike. It's not gonna. We're still gonna end up capping out at 135 watts, but the clock speed will be higher at the same level of wattage, and therefore our scores will be higher. Now, if you wanted to, you could make it run more power efficiently. If you wanted, 34,421. Okay, so there's our 5-run score. Wow, we ended up settling down just above 34,400 for our average. I'm tempted to run a 10-minute test. Let's start a 10-minute test at least and see what we're getting for our overall averages. I have reset everything. Oh, let me stop this. Let it run for 30 seconds at least to help cool down a little bit better. And then we'll get our clock speed averages after a little while. See what we get when it ends up settling down to 135 watts at least. After you finish all the tests, can you compare with the Scar 18? So, Jessica, I very likely will compare it with the Scar 18 after the fact. But I'll need to get all the benchmarks done and everything compiled first. Richard, yeah, you'll be able to rewatch the whole vid, the whole VOD of the live stream. Don't worry. It will be up on the channel. It'll be in the live stream section, not on the main videos, but it'll be on the live stream section. It's like a separate section of YouTube on the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a 10-minute test. And we'll also see what kind of clock speed we get. Right now, we're starting off at 5 gigahertz, just across the board. It's just rocking that 5 gigahertz nonstop right now. Our average CPU pull is 180 watts during the first 20 seconds. And our temperatures are reaching thermal throttling on the CPU package at 95 degrees. Our clock speeds are still 4.7, 4.8 gigahertz right now. Our average is 4.9. Will it be possible to undervolt the Ryzen 7945HX? ARP, I'm not sure yet. It depends on a lot of different factors. In the past, undervolting Ryzen has been a thing, but the benefits were not as strong as Intel because they're already much more power efficient in general because of the smaller nanometer core process that Ryzen chips are made with. Wow, we are still averaging 4.8 gigahertz in the first minute and a half. Geez, undervolting is such an improvement to performance. It's crazy. Now, we're going to drop below to 135 on the package power here coming up very soon, I think. We haven't dropped yet, though, and our performance is just, it's kicking serious tail during this initial launch phase / sequence. Will I be testing 7945HX notebooks? Yes, I will be. I have 2 of them on the way right now. Asus, I believe, shipped the Zephyrus Duo 16 that has the Ryzen 9 7945HX in it. Can the GE77HX with 12th gen processor undervolt this low? I don't know. I have not messed with the 12th gen much at all, so I don't know. So looking at our CPU pull after 2.5 minutes, we're averaging 155 watts. Now we're seeing our 135 watt limit kind of kicking in. And yet our clock speeds are so much higher. Even at 135, we're doing 4.5 gigahertz on our P cores. Whoo, doggy. Like we were dogging it down to like 4.0 to 4.1 without the undervolt. With the undervolt, we went up 0.4 gigahertz on this CPU, which is the biggest increase to performance I've seen so far. Now, this, of course, is Silicon Lottery, and this i9 chip might just be a better i9 chip than what we had in the GT77. And that just comes down to luck. Okay, now we're doing, 125, now 143. CPU is jumping around a little bit. Intel went all out with 13th gen, and so did AMD. I agree. I think AMD finally went to 16 cores, 32 threads, and we've got 24 cores, 32 threads with these i9 chips. It's such a huge performance gain. And I love to see the competition between AMD and Intel. Without AMD pushing Intel to improve their stuff, I don't think we would have seen this level of performance gain. Like, Intel would have been just like chilling, you know? The last couple of years, they probably would still be an 8-core performance core CPU or maybe a 10-core or something. I don't know. They probably wouldn't even be using E-cores if it wasn't for, I would say, Apple Silicon as well as AMD Silicon, pushing them and pushing the design envelope. Martin says, please recommend me 2 to 3 laptops with excellent displays for content creation and occasional gaming. I think the Helios 18 or Blade 18 might be the best options. GT77 has loud fans. What do you think? Yeah, for content creation, I think the Blade 18 is probably one of the very best options. Helios 18 is also pretty good, but the Blade 18 has phenomenal full-size SD card slot. That's a UHS 2 slot. So the Blade 16 and the Blade 18 both have that. If you want a 4K screen, though, you'd have to go down to the Blade 16. I mean, just in general, if you want content creation screen, the MSI GT77 probably has the best content creation screen because it's a 4K 144 hertz 1000 nit HDR display. But the Razer Blade 16 and the Scar 16 both have excellent mini LED displays as well. So all depends on what you want. Content creators might like a 4K display because you'll be able to see a little more detail in 4K footage. Is 4K even worth it on a laptop? For most people, no. And from a gaming perspective, I don't think it's worth it. From a content creation perspective, it might be worth it though, because you'll be able, like, when you're scrutinizing your own 4K footage, you'll be able to look at it in true 4K representation. So that's probably the main difference. Holy smolies. Our clock speed averages are still 4.56, 4.9, and we are 6 minutes into this test. I'm going to let it finish all the way through and see what we get for this 10-minute score. My mind is going because it is really phenomenal. Why does the Raider styling look like the Adam West Batmobile? It kind of does when you have the whole thing down, you know? Like, it kind of looks like a Batmobile from, like, the 60s. So Sergey Zenemesky, the GT7 and the GE78, right? We don't know that the GE78 is actually faster when under a combined GPU and CPU load. That's the primary difference here that we need to test. In terms of just CPU performance, that doesn't tell the whole story between the GE78 and the GT77. So I just want to make sure that you keep that in mind. But, and like I've said over and over, silicon lottery matters, okay? It's clear. It's 100% clear that the i9 chip that we got in this GE78 is better than the i9 chip we got in the GT77 over there. So, in my opinion, you could see this exact levels of performance with the GT77 if your i9 chip is the same level of silicon lottery. I think we got more unlucky with the GT77 and got luckier with the GE78. The main thing here to take away, in my opinion, is that the power limits are the same. The undervolt potential is the same. But at least the silicon lottery that I got in this GE78 that I bought from Newegg is phenomenal. All right? I mean, this may be like a home run type of thing where you just like, boom, this thing undervolts incredibly well and just puts out really, really great performance. Can you disable the RGB light circus? Good question, Clark. We're going to go into the GG series engine, which is the SteelSeries engine, and I'm going to show you the light customizations that you can do. And yeah, you can turn off all the RGB. What is the current voltage at? You want to see the vids? Which voltage are you wanting to see? You want to see this voltage, 1.1? The core package power is what I really focus on when I'm looking at laptop performance. ARP, how is the screen on this laptop? Missed the earlier part. It's very good. 370 nits approximately, and very colorful. Close to 100% P3 color gamut. Sound and video aren't matching. Okay, I'll reset that. Testing. Hopefully our sound and video are going to match up now. Okay, so reviewing here at the end, we are averaging 4.55 gigahertz on our P cores, 3.6 gigahertz on our E cores. Absolutely incredible. Our average temperature is 80 degrees, 92 degrees for our CPU package power, our package temp. 91 degrees on average for our CPU package, there at least. 143.6 watts averaged over the 10-minute test. And we're about to see what our 10-minute result is for the GE78 undervolted. 33,429 for our 10-minute undervolt. That's incredible. That's really, really good. Okay. Let's show you the RGB customization. That you can get with this laptop. All right, so the software, let's build the software up first real quick. So, SteelSeries GG engine. This is the software. You click on engine, and right here you can change the colors between the different modes. And if you want to be more specific, you can also click on it, and it'll pull up the actual per key RGB lighting. So if you want to set the colors to be a specific color or modify any of the presets, you can do that. The MSI matrix, you can also set just a certain set of them to be a specific color if you want. And you can also disable the RGB logo on the back. So there's lots of different customizations. I'm going to walk you through all the presets now. So I'm going to change both the matrix light in front and the RGB at the same time. So we're going to do Aurora on both. So that's what, and I'm going to turn these lights off. So this is what the old lighting used to look like on the Raider series, was Aurora. Blue flash. That's blue flash on the front. And I'm going to do aqua on the keyboard. Those go together really well. Next up is chakra, which is what I have been using. Then there's the default. This is what MSI defaults the keys to. It's like a crazy color pattern rainbow. You can disable the front light bar. There's gold splash. So that looks pretty cool. It's like you don't notice it at all. It goes completely black and then it comes up. There's macaw. That's only for the Mystic light. You can't change the keyboard light to that. There's plain, which is, I believe, single color RGB lighting. There's a rainbow. And so that's rainbow on the on both the front, and it says rainbow split. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. And that is the different options for the matrix light. And I'm just going to set it back to chakra now on both. Overall, looks pretty sweet. The RGB on this is very cool. I think a lot of people will really love the RGB. And if I turn off all of the lights, which there's a hotkey to do it, I can turn it off with just FN and the hotkey light. It's interesting, it doesn't turn these lights off though. If I want to turn these lights off, I guess I gotta go disable there. So that's what it looks like. Completely no lights anywhere, nothing is on, including the RGB logo in the back. Nothing is activated. This is what you're gonna take into your business meeting, I guess, if you're gonna take it into a business meeting. All right. Looks pretty dang businessy to me. Okay, so we're going to turn those lights back on. I got to pull up the GG engine again. Roman with the 25 NOK. Says, thanks for the reviews. When are the 4060s coming out? I have a 4060 I got in the mail last night. So expect a live unboxing of that soon. Sometime in the next few days is my goal. It's the Gigabyte G5 at $1,100. It looks very promising to me. Okay. So It's time to play some games, guys. Let's play some games. Speaker test. It's time to do a speaker test and then play games. Just kidding. Can't play games yet. I'm going to turn the brightness of the display down a little bit so it's not so overwhelming with everything else on here. And thank you so much for the donation, by the way. It does mean a lot. Okay, art list. And I got to get logged back in. So this has a 6-speaker system, which is pretty dang impressive. I think it's going to be impressive. The GT77 sounded good, and that was only a 4-speaker system. This has a 6-speaker system. I'm hoping it sounds better. Let me turn off the fans. I'll put the fans down to silent mode. And I'll turn off my other fan over here. At least set it down to really low so you can't hear it. Okay, so by the way, here is the fan noise when I turn it up to extreme performance. Okay, so that's what it sounds like with extreme performance. All right, here's silent mode. The fans are noticeable, but they have a nice whoosh to them. They're not very whistly sounding, so that's good. All right. Here is the speaker test. All right, so we're going to hold the mic about 10 inches in front of the laptop, and we're going to play Roar by Peter Spacey, and we're going to make sure the sound's all the way up. All right, it is. And let me also check. So there is an app called Nahimic, which you can use to modify the sounds a little bit. I'm not sure. Right now we are in equalizer mode. Let's do dynamic, I guess, and we'll do effects are on. We can try turning it off and on here and see if it sounds better or not with it. But let's go ahead and listen to Roar. Here we go. Okay, so that was me switching between different sound profiles, turning the Nahimic on and off. I think it sounds better with Nahimic, and it's in the custom flat sound profile now with the bass boost activated. Let's listen to the next two songs. This is Half-Life by Faded Aeon. That sounds pretty good. Let's move on to La 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 by Deuce Williams.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la.
Okay, so in general, I would say the speakers are high quality, but they're not much better than the GT77. They're in the same ballpark. I would say they're not neck and neck, but pretty close to neck and neck with the GT77. That means they're slightly worse than what's on the Razer Blade 16 and 18, slightly better than the Strix G18, and probably right around equal to the Scar 18 in terms of speaker quality. All right, Wildfire says, weird question. Where can I find if your display is mini LED or not within the system settings? I mean, where does it actually list mini LED? Make sure you didn't get a quality IPS screen. I don't think it will list it, Wildfire. I don't know. Well, mini LED displays will be thicker than your typical laptop display, though, because they have to fit the mini LED layer into the display housing. Okay. Now it's time to play some games. Let's go. All right, so we're going to do God of War. We're going to start with God of War. Is it louder than the Scar? So the loudness, I think, could be better. I think the volume is pretty good, but it honestly, I think it's right there with the GT77. Not much better, not much worse. So So in the Zephyrus M16, for example, the only way to tell if you had a screen detecting hardware, like if you have it, Wildfire, there's probably some way to do it. I just don't know how to test that. So do you actually download all the games beforehand? Tanmay, yes, I do. And that way I can actually get some game testing in while we're here during the unboxing phase. All I do is I take the laptop out of the box, plug it in, and start downloading drivers and downloading games. And I don't test the laptop pretty much, usually. Oh, I think we might need to set up Afterburner. I don't think I set it up yet. Let me see. I guess we'll find out. Ooh, that is smooth. Very nice. We're gonna... Oh! We have a crash, folks. I wonder if our undervolt is too much. It could be another reason, though. This is the new NVIDIA driver. I'm going to have to force the laptop off here, looks like. It's like stuck, hard crashed. Too undervolted? It could be, yep. All right, so we're going to step our undervolts back 25 millivolts. So I'm going to pop this in, pop into the BIOS here. Weird. There we go. Okay, I was pressing the wrong key. All right, we're going to pop on to our overclocking, and we're going to go to our P core. We're going to drop this to 125. Our E core, we're going to do to 125 as well. And we're going to do a 75 on our ring. All right. Let's go. The Raider does not have mini LED. The GT77 does. That is correct. And just like that, GT77 is the winner. LOL. Tanmay, this does not have a mini LED display. No, it does not. This is not a 4K display. This is a QHD 240 Hertz display. See if we can get God of War to run just fine for us this time. If it doesn't run now, then it's probably some kind of driver issue. So the display on this laptop is just an IPS, I believe. So this laptop resolution is 2560 by 1600 QHD plus, is what I describe it as, QHD plus. Tomorrow I'm getting the Blade 16 with mini LED and 4090 with the switching display. I am hyped. Nice, Matthias. That sounds pretty sweet. Retry connection. Did you run Timespy? I have not ran Timespy yet. We are going to run at the end. Interesting. Our internet seems to be working, but Steam doesn't seem to want to load for some reason. So Tanmay, this display is very good. It is a very good display. I wouldn't say it's as good as some of the other ones, but it's still very high color gamut and $370 So, or sorry, 370 nits. Though the contrast ratio, I wish it was better. If Steam doesn't want to load this time, I'm going to restart the system again. Something might be wrong. There it goes. How much smaller does the 17-inch look compared to the 18-inch? It's not a huge difference, Marco, but you can see how much of a size difference there is between the 17-inch laptops and the 18-inch laptops. I did stack them up side by side and showed them side by side. I guess I'm going to start in offline mode because this does not want to seem to run. Okay, Osama says, hello, I need your opinion about this laptop, price and specs, ROG Strix G16, i7 13650HX, RTX 4080, 16 gigs of RAM, 240 hertz display, 2150 CHF Swiss. I don't know what CHF Swiss means, but if it's 2150 US dollars, then that would be a very good deal, I think, or a good deal. Definitely a good deal for a 4080, 2150 with a QHD 240 hertz display. That's good. Does HDR work on IPS displays? Depends on the display, I think. It has to be an HDR rated display. So checking our settings here, we are in QHD plus quality with graphics set to ultra. I don't believe we're in ultra performance mode. Let's make sure that we are in extreme performance mode. There we go. We are in extreme performance mode now. We're going to go ahead and click continue. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and I didn't set up Afterburner yet, so the price is in Switch. See, you got to translate the Swiss price to USD. Yeah, so that'd be $22.99 USD. That sounds about right. That sounds like a pretty good deal. Okay, so we're running everything again. That's good. Let's try our Afterburner window. We want temperature, usage, memory usage, core clock, memory clock, power percent, power, temp limit, power limit, voltage limit. We want our CPU temperature, CPU usage, CPU clock, CPU power, RAM usage. We want our frame rate averages, and our 1% lows. All right, and then for our overlay, we're gonna want this to probably be like 14 and move it over a little bit. Okay. Looks like our overlay size did not change. A little bit too big now. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. All right, so we are in. We are ready to benchmark. And I'm already seeing some pretty high CPU temperatures, which makes sense because this thing doesn't have 4 fans. So I think your actual gaming temperatures with the GE78 is going to be quite a bit higher than what the GT77 had. And the potential for higher CPU TDP is also going to be lower, I believe. That's probably my initial impression here. Let's go ahead and run through this test. Here we go.
What did you find?
Tracks. Not deer, though. I'll keep looking.
Okay, so we got 104. The Strix G18 got 100 here. So this got 4 more FPS than the Strix G18. And they both have RTX 4080, so that's pretty good. Let's go no DLSS and run it again. 150 watt cap. Yeah, we're not boosting above 150 right now, which is interesting because we definitely have some thermal headroom. But it's interesting because we did outperform the Strix G18 by 4 FPS. So that's some nice gain. Now we're going to do no DLSS, just raw rasterization. Let's see what we get. Okay. At least our GPU temps are staying below 90. Okay, it went to 94. Now it's going back again. It's jumping around a lot for our GPU temps. Okay, so we got 88, 66. I think that's 2 FPS higher than the Strix G18. So it's doing well. It's interesting that we're not boosting above 150 watts on the GPU though. Very interesting. Okay, so there's our God of War test. Let's load up Cyberpunk 2077. All right, so Alyssa asks, so if you don't care about a RTX 4090 and you go with a 4080, you get the best of all worlds for a grand cheaper than the GT77 4090. This Raider is a 4080. That's right, Alyssa. You get $1,000 less than the GT77, but this is also $1,000 more than the Strix G18. All right. So if you're price shopping around, price comparing, there's a lot of different options out there. I believe the cheapest RTX 4080 right now is the Omen 17, which I think starts at like 2,200. But that's like a full HD screen, so. Strix G18 gang, rise up. I find that the fans are much quieter on the GE78 than the GT77. What do you think? Yeah, I do think they're a little quieter when they're both on max fans. I would say probably 2 or 3 decibels quieter, if I were to guess. But they're both very loud. It's not like they're low sounding fans. All right, so we're gonna set. Well, so let's set everything to ray tracing on ultra. All right, and then we're gonna set DLSS on quality. Everything is turned to max. Ray tracing ultra, frame generation enabled. QHD Plus. Let's run the benchmark and see what we get. What's up, bro? Lance says, I have the Scar 18. I hear coil whine on silent mode, but when the fans run, I don't hear it at all. Yeah. Yeah, I heard just a little bit of coil whine. Way less than my Strix G18, though. This Raider has 2 fans. That is correct. Can you turn the wattage up on the GPU? Well, it's supposed to be able to boost to 175 watts, and I'm curious why we're not boosting up to 175 watts. I don't know. It may be possible to turn the wattage up on the GPU if you were to flash like the GT77 VBIOS onto the GE78. Maybe. Does this machine have coil whine? I have not heard any coil whine. I don't know how to say your name. You get? I'm not sure. But I've not heard any coil whine. We are running on maximum fans, which makes it very difficult to hear any kind of coil whine. Our combined CPU, GPU load here is about, so 75 plus 150. It's about 230 to 240 right now. Our average FPS was 105. That's pretty good. The Strix G18 got 102. So this is, again, outperforming the Strix G18 by 3 FPS. GPU power limits are controllable with MSI Afterburner, only if they're unlocked by the VBIOS, Mike. It just depends. Sometimes they don't let you. It may be locked down. Like if it's, you may set it something higher, it won't actually take it, potentially. Okay, so let's try no frame generation, just DLSS on quality. You guys can kind of see some of that. There is some black light bleed on this panel, just a little bit. Can't wait to see FPS for Hogwarts. That game is a beast. Yeah, it is. Will the dual screen Asus be good this year? I think it probably will be, Tanmay. I'm going to be reviewing that here in about a week or two. Why is no one buying the MSI Stealth 4090? The MSI Raider is better. The Stealth 4090 has much lower GPU TDP limits, and it's very expensive, and it's not that much lighter than what the Raider series is. So why would you go with like the Stealth 17 when you could get something that's just a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, and just way more powerful? So that's kind of the way I think about it, at least. If you want something more portable, I think you got to go down to something like the Stealth 14. Then that sucker is going to be portable and light and still have moderate levels of performance. So I can see the argument for buying the Stealth 14 when I can't really see it for like the Stealth 17. Okay, we got 63.6 average FPS, which is very good. I'm not going to test the custom fan control mic. We just don't have time in this to be able to do that. But I might do a balanced fan profile test. I'm okay doing a balanced fan profile test. I just don't want to deal with custom. So we'll see what the balanced profile sounds like. I can already hear the fans kind of ramping down a little bit. Let's go back to frame generation active. And let's do a test. Let's see what kind of FPS difference we get. So the fans already kind of sound like they're at 50% volume level now. How is the performance compared to the Blade 18? Well, the Blade 18 has an RTX 4090 that I'm testing, so it's hard to compare that. Wow, the fans are very quiet. Our temperatures are looking pretty good. Our TDP on the CPU went down from like 65 down to 45 in balance mode. Our GPU TDP is pretty close to the same, just a little bit lower, like 5 less, it looks like. Wow, the fans are very quiet. Like right now, if you're hearing any fan, you're probably mainly hearing my room fan. That is very good. Holy crap. So I'm very impressed with the balanced fans mode, but we're going to be 104. So what was that? 2 FPS less than, I think we got 106 with extreme performance mode. And those temps looked pretty dang good. I'm pretty impressed with balance mode. We haven't done a heat soak. That wasn't a long-term test, but still. Yeah, balanced is very close to silent. It's very impressive. We're going to load into Red Dead Redemption 2 now. Been loving my G18. The price makes it unbeatable value. It's very, very good value, Malevolent ran, even compared to the lower end laptops. I wonder if we're going to be able to play this in offline mode. We might not be able to. Yeah, we might have to go online. Come on. Please work. It says offline mode could not establish connection, but it's working now. Don says GT77 and GE78HX should reach 250 watt total load. Why is it low on this laptop? Well, so Don, that last test was in balanced mode. It was not in extreme performance mode. We did see like 20 watts more in extreme performance mode. But the interesting thing was like the Strix G18 and Scar 18, they were pulling like 260 to 270 watts in Cyberpunk. And what we were seeing in extreme performance mode was like 230, maybe touching 240 at the high end, which is interesting. I think it comes down to the VBIOS and the way the main BIOS limits the CPU, because the CPU is not spiking nearly as high as what the Asus laptops were spiking towards. So, no. That's annoying. It's not going to let us. We're online now, so I don't understand why it can't. Why can't it launch in complete non-online mode? Like it should be online mode. Am I going to review the Legion Pro 7 soon? Osama, I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. I have ordered it. It got back ordered, so. Restart Steam? Yeah, I might need to do that. If it doesn't work this time, I'm going to restart Steam. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is a fairly CPU-bound game, it turns out now, with these new RTX 4000 series laptops. I am probably going to not be featuring Red Dead Redemption 2 as heavily in my review videos for that reason going forward, I think. But then again, maybe it's good to have this kind of CPU-bound game, because some laptops are going to have a lot crappier CPU bound performance than others, and this game will show that. So maybe it's a good idea to have it. All right, we're going to set everything to maximum. We're going to apply those changes. Beautiful. And this should have everything on, and then DLSS is disabled. DLSS is off, yep. So this is like maxed out settings pretty much. With DLSS being disabled. So Syed Nodasar says, is the 4070 good? 4070 is really good if you count frame generation. Without that, it all comes down to the individual laptops pricing on the RTX 4070. Most RTX 4070 laptops, I feel like, are overpriced when comparing raw rasterization performance against the RTX 3000 series. So you can get like a 3070 Ti laptop that's a high TDP limit, with a really good display for around 1500 or 1400, 1300. But that laptop's not going to have frame generation, so it's going to be less future-proof. So those are the trade-offs. I'm still waiting to get a 4070 laptop that I love and I can highly recommend that to test. The Katana 15 that I tested, it just left me with like kind of sour taste in my mouth because of the display and the lower overall TDP limits of the laptop, which led me to recommending most other laptops instead, or other laptops in that price category instead. So I think a RTX 4070 laptop just needs to be priced right to be competitive. And right now it may not be. It says it can't connect to Rockstar game services. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, in general, I think the 4070 is a bit disappointing. And Osama says it's disappointing compared to the 3070 Ti. So the important thing to keep in mind, the 3070 Ti, when it was launched, was priced well over $2,000 for the vast majority of laptops. Okay, so like it was like probably on average $2,500 for a 3070 Ti. And right now, an RTX 4070 is priced starting at $1,500 for several different models. The Acer Nitro series, the MSI Katana series. So when you're shopping around, you have to recognize that the 4070, even though it has a 70 at the end, all of the GPU tiers in the 4000 series was bumped up by 10. And so realistically, the 4070 is being priced to compete with the RTX 3060 laptops. So, but right now you can get a 3070 for $1,500. That's the awkward part because it's the older generation tech. We are not getting things to happen right here. I'm going to go ahead and exit Red Dead because it's not loading. And I'm not saying you can't compare the 4070 and 3070 Ti. You absolutely can compare those in performance, especially since they're very similarly priced now. The thing is, at launch is the main thing I'm referring to. At launch, the pricing of the 4070 matches what the 3060 is because they were both the third best tier 3 level GPUs. The Zephyrus G14 this year with a 4090 125 watt may be a killer. Yeah, it may be really great. So, especially for the price to performance, or like the performance per pound perspective, oh my gosh, the Zephyrus G14 should be amazing. Launch prices, Mark? Yeah, launch prices are always a bit high, and they always usually come down. Tenmei says, how do we go about doing actual comparison to find the perfect fit? So I think you got to ask yourself what resolution you want to play your games at. and what kind of frame rate you want to target, and then what kind of games you want to play. Once you get an idea of everything that you're wanting, that's when you decide, okay, I'm gonna be playing single player games. I want to get 100 FPS, or I want to get 60 FPS at QHD resolution. And once you've decided those things, then you can start comparing benchmarks and all of that to target your desired frame rate and your budget. So I'm just going to restart. Zephyrus G14 comes with mini LED too. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's going to be very cool to see a mini LED on that 14-inch display. Should make the contrast ratio really good. Sadly, the brightness is only 600 nits on that mini LED, which is not that much brighter than the standard 500 nit Nebula display that's going to come on the non-mini LED version. But I'm hoping the contrast ratio, maybe color gamut, maybe it's going to be a little bit brighter. Hopefully, it's going to be a noticeable improvement. But at only 100 nits brighter, usually is not that noticeable. MSI has won the prize for ugliest laptop in 2023. Which laptop are you talking about, Timmy? Are you talking about the GE78? I don't think it's that ugly. I wish the red stripes were silver or gold or shiny or something. I don't know. I think that could be probably the biggest area of improvement. Okay, it looks like we were able to load in correctly this time. That's good. Come on, Red Dead. EVGA RTX 30 series had that ugly red trim too. Jimmy really doesn't like the GE78, LOL. For me, it's one of the prettiest. I think it is a really, I personally think it's a very nice looking laptop from the front. And then from the back, it looks all right. It just looks okay. I think it could be better from the back. That's my take on it, at least. But I can see how I can see how some people are going to love this design and hate this design. So. Okay, we're back in. Hopefully our settings are still all the same. Yep, looks like we're all still the same. That's good. Let's make sure Afterburner's running. Beautiful. Here we go. Did you guys notice that I have not had to change the battery out at all today? I upgraded my battery packs to be plugins instead, so that way I don't have to change the batteries now. And I did order a new camera that will not overheat. It should be coming in the mail in a day or two. So it's the same camera, but with an active fan cooling for long-term video recording. So it will not overheat, and we won't have any more interruptions in the live streams, which that's the biggest thing I wanted to improve on. How long until RTX 5090 laptops? It'll be 2 years. They come out every year. That's like the standard generation, and then the TI generation the year later, and then another year after that. So 2 years later, after there'll be the next iteration. At least that's what NVIDIA has done the last 6 years. Steve says, LOL, that's right. Your feed hasn't crapped out at all. Yeah, I know, right? It's awesome. Osama says, I think that the GE78 is a copy from the Scar series because of these hinges. Okay, so something is going on. I bet you it's the killer software. Is there some kind of killer? This has happened to me in the past. Is there any kind of killer Wi-Fi drivers I can disable or something? I don't know, but we're not able to benchmark Red Dead, so we are going to just be exiting Red Dead. I'm guessing hopefully an update from. I'm hoping an update from the MSI support website would fix that issue. I'm not going to troubleshoot that right now, but what should we do instead? Let's do Dead Space instead of Red Dead. Tanmay says that's disappointing. I know, it's very annoying that we're running into network issues. The one thing that makes me not consider MSI is the design, the looks. Yeah, it's not for everyone. That's for sure. Hey Gizmo, when is the tough A16 Advantage Edition arriving? It looks good. I don't know yet. I think it's actually for sale in some markets. Okay, let's check our display. Looks like we are only in 1080p. Let's apply that. There we go. We're QHD now. Let's go to 240 hertz. Beautiful. And we're on DLSS Ultra. We're going to go to quality. Bingo. Okay, so now we're at QHD plus, DLSS on quality. This is how we. Oh wait, and we also need to be set to ultra settings. There we go. Now we're on ultra settings. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna hit continue. We're gonna load game. Scar 16 or GE78HX with 4080. That's going to be a tough one to decide between, I think, for a lot of people. I got to go the other way. Interesting. Our TDP combination between these two right now is only 200 watts. Super interesting, but our FPS is good. It's very good FPS. This is more than what the 4090 was getting. Okay, not when we turn this way. When we turn this way, it's about the same. So we're getting really good performance, even though our TDP numbers that are being read out is not as high. The FPS numbers, though, are fantastic. Okay, so here's our test. We walk down this, okay? So 3, 2, 1. Wow. Our GPU utilization is at 100%. But we're only doing 135 watts here when we were doing 160 to 170 watts on the SCAR and Strix G18. And then our TDP on the CPU is also much lower at 71. And yet our frames are actually outperforming the Strix SCAR 18, I think. Or at least it's matching. I think it was 112 for the SCAR 18, which is so weird. 116, so there we go. 117. That's where we stop. 117.72. Such good performance despite the lower TDP values, which is incredibly odd, which makes me wonder if the TDP values are being read out differently in some manner or form or something. I don't know. And we're not getting any stutters in here as well. So impressive performance, odd game behavior. Okay, we're going to load into Apex Legends. For sure, a headset is needed for this beast. Well, we were in balanced mode, and it was actually not that loud. It was almost silent. But in general, if you want a higher quality gaming experience, I would recommend headphones anyway. All right, I'm going to turn the sound up for this. I'm going to stretch my leg out here. All right, so by default, we should be in maximum settings. We are in maximum settings. Do you believe Aorus laptops coming with 16:9 screen? What a waste. I think it just depends on the user. Some people are actually going to prefer a 16:10 aspect ratio, and some people are going to prefer 16:9. I like 16:10 because it lets me a 16:10 aspect ratio lets me see a little more vertically without the laptop chassis being much bigger, and it's better for video editing, in my opinion.
Using grapple.
Whee! Okay. Very nice levels of performance right now. The keyboard and trackpad, by the way, are completely cool. There's no heat over on this side of the laptop. It's going to be very comfortable to game on this laptop for extended periods of time. I need to change my settings down to 1. And we're going to need to enable auto sprint. Okay. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and see what I can get with FPS. I've started the FPS counter again. Our FPS is obviously very good. $190. Wow. This is very good performance for maximum settings. Let's go ahead and switch it over to all low settings now. And we should... we should be able to boost our frame rate closer to 300. All right. We're going to have to restart the test here. How is this one considered a flagship if there is also the Titan available? So it's the flagship 16:10 aspect ratio laptop. And I think a lot of people are going to prefer this. And whereas the Titan is the best 16:9 aspect ratio laptop. That's the way I would describe that. So we're at all low settings. This is definitely higher frame rate.
Hostile over there.
Very good. We're getting excellent overall performance. Fantastic. All right, let's pop over to we'll go to team deathmatch so it's easy to get into fights. How's the 17-inch screen real estate? It's good. It's very high screen-to-body ratio, higher screen-to-body ratio than the GT77. Tech with Sean asked, does this and or the GT have G-Sync? No, neither of them have G-Sync. Neither of them have G-Sync to the best of my knowledge. And I don't think you really need it. I can't tell a difference having it on or off on any of these laptops, in my opinion. That's my honest opinion. I can't tell a difference. I know some people will want it for low FPS gaming. If you go sub 60 FPS, that's when it makes a big difference. But we're hitting well above 60 FPS in every game, so I don't think that's going to be a problem for a long time. Does this display have HDR? I don't know that it does or doesn't. I do not believe it does. G-Sync adds latency. I don't know, Kaylin. It might. I need to look at some tests on that. But yeah, I have not found G-Sync to be helpful in any of these high FPS games that I play, at least. Will using an external monitor make a difference in performance? No, because this has a mux switch, so you'll get the same performance on the screen as off the screen. Well, I hope we can still... Can we pick Pathfinder still? I guess not. I guess we'll go Wraith. So we're playing with all low settings. The goal is to get at least 240 FPS, which I'm pretty sure we'll get that pretty easily. We'll see, though. I guess we'll go Wingman R99. There's one kill. We are dominating these guys. This guy's gonna kill me. Oh, you got me. Dang. This Wraith is killing me. Which 23 laptop is the greatest of all time? We don't know yet. We're still figuring it out. I'd like to get a couple more kills if I can. But this performance is fantastic. People keep taking my kills. I've got like 4 assists this game. All right, we finally got it. We finally killed that Wraith. Woo! Let's go ahead and take this jump pad if we can. That Wraith coming from behind on us. Okay, so very nice, very good performance in Apex Legends. Let's move on to Hogwarts. And that'll be the last game for today. Then we're doing Timespy. Timmy says, I guess you are on your 30, right? I'm 32, and I did not learn to play games like I used to in my 20s. Games are getting complicated. Yeah, I'm playing at a weird mouse angle. It's kind of hard to aim, but I tried my best I could. TGB boost is still stuck at 150, but the GPU clocks are good. Yeah, I agree. It's really weird. I wonder if things are being misrepresented on our boost clocks and CPU clocks. The performance is there. The stutter is... We're not stuttering. The performance is really good, even though the TGP is being read out as lower. I think we're going to see the same thing happen when I end up benchmarking the GT77, because I thought we saw some similar things happening with the GT77. So, all right, so we need to modify our settings so that we're uncapped. There we go. There, okay, now we're uncapped. That's good. The mouse movement is so much smoother when you take off the 60 FPS cap.
Here I come.
Okay, so we are in Hogwarts. And I just want to review our settings again. So we are in full screen. Oh, for windowed full screen is the only option. DLSS on quality. Frame generation is enabled. We are on everything on maxed. Okay? Everything's on maxed, though we probably need to put our textures down to low as we are tested on all the other 4080s. We end up with stuttering from our VRAM being maxed out. Yeah, we're at maximum VRAM right now. 11 gigs being used. So... Okay, so here we are. Let's see what we get running around. Again, everything's on max. Ray tracing is enabled. Hogsmeade is the most demanding area of this game because there's so many NPCs and things going on. Our 1% lows are not great, but they're not as bad as they were initially. I wonder if it'll be bad when we end up running. So doing our run through of Hogwarts. Oops, I ended up clicking. Let me restart. Okay, so I just reset it. We're going to run through here. Our 1% lows are looking pretty good at 45. This red building usually sets our 1% lows down pretty low because of the fireworks, but yep, there it went down. Coming into the central market area. 103 to 30. That's pretty good. I think that's good. I believe that's good. We weren't able to test originally with ray tracing enabled, so all of these tests need to be like redone on all the other laptops that I initially tested with. Let's go ahead and jump around to another section of the world. I don't have my broom yet unlocked on this save playthrough. We'll just run out into the Forbidden Forest and see what we get. Is this a 4080 or 4090? It's a 4080. Yeah, it's a 4080. Okay, so here we are. I just reset the FPS counter. So let's run around and explore a little bit. Let's go into the Forbidden Forest and see what's up out here. Wow, it's using 27 gigs of regular RAM. You're going to need 32 gigs of RAM if you want to run this game at least as much as it wants it. If you're going to give as much RAM as it really wants. Is that... Ha! There's a wizard fighting a dug bog over here. Okay, so we're getting some really good FPS. And the 1% lows are not bad since we set the VRAM to be low, or textures on low. Boom, boom, boom. We just killed that guy. We should have another guy we could fight. Where's the other guy? Did he fall down? Oh. Yeah. Ah. We're so weak. We're only level 4. We can't probably fight a dug bog. It's going to kill us. Oh my god. It did 90% of our health in one attack. We're 1 hit from dying. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we were 2 hits from dying. Come on. Let's kill this dog bog at least. Did we get him? We got him! Woohoo! We got a dog bog tongue. All right. So, obviously performance in this game is really demanding, and we're handling it really well, again, with the lower TDP on the CPU and GPU. So, very impressed with the performance in Hogwarts Legacy. Let's hop into Timespy now and see what we get with Timespy. It's a very easily comparable number. Right now we have no overclock on the CPU and GPU. It's going to be everything stock. So it's going to be very interesting. Aaron asked, does the brighter screen offering on the Scar 18 and Razer 18 give any additional visual impact? Is it noticeable? I think it is a little bit noticeable when you have it side by side. But if you were just to come up to this display, just as like you're just walking up to it, you're going to be like, wow, this display's pretty nice. So, but when you were to, if you were to see them side by side, you'd be like, oh yeah, the Blade 18 and Scar 18 screens, they're a little brighter and a little bit better contrast and a little higher color gamut. I do think it would be a little bit noticeable. So, and I mean, I don't think the display differences is enough to be like, oh, I'm not going to buy the GE78. I think the display difference is not that significant that it should weigh heavily in your decision making. It should be weighted though, because it is a lower color gamut display and it's not as bright. So if you're someone who's going to be a content creator or you're going to game in brighter environments, get the brighter display, get the more vibrant display. That's what I would say. How come the GE78 CPU benchmarks beat the Scar 18? It's because of the undervolting that we were capable of doing on this machine. The undervolting is just phenomenal. The silicon we got in this i9 was better than average. So yeah, and the Scar 18 and Strix G18 does not undervolt very well yet. Asus is working on improving the undervolting, and when they improve the undervolting, we're going to get a lot higher scores and be able to compete really well with this GE78. So Hogwarts needs some serious PC optimization, but it's still a great game. I agree. It's a really great game. I've been really enjoying my time in it. I'm now like 22, 23 hours in. My gear score is like 330 defense, 325 offense or something like that. So it's like 650, 670 or something. So I'm just like, I'm murdering everything very fast now. I've worked very hard to collect my magical creatures and upgrade all my stuff. So, okay. So, looking over here, again, our TDP is lower. 150, 37. Our GPU clocks are also a little bit lower. So our temperatures are fantastic. A little disappointed not to see 175 here. And I wonder if updating the VBIOS or updating the main BIOS for this GE78 would boost our TDP to a higher level. I would not be surprised if this goes up to 175 eventually. But the odd part is the performance is still really good. So I want to see what the Timespy score is before I judge this too heavily, because maybe things are not being read correctly. I don't know. It's weird. When does the G14 arrive? I do not know. I have not seen it for sale yet, and Asus has not sent me one or let me know that they're interested in sending me one. So the G14 launch date is still in question. Man, the temperatures are so good in Timespy, though. These are some really fantastic temperatures. Wait, the G18 is 16 gig, another reason for stuttering? Oh yeah, that's true, Steven. Yeah, since the Hogwarts wants, we're seeing 26 gigs of regular RAM being used, then yeah, that could be another reason. But in the The Katana 16, which has only 16 gigs, did not have any stuttering. I think the Strix G18 will not have stuttering now that Hogwarts has been updated. I haven't gone back and tested it yet, but I'm pretty sure the stuttering would be much improved in the Strix G18. Now that Hogwarts has gone through a few different updates, the stuttering has definitely improved. So, Alyssa says, I don't put a ton of merit in benchmarks. It's all about how these computers perform in actual games. If I can play on Ultra at 4K and just rock it, then that's the one for me. Gotcha, Alyssa. I do think that Timespy scores directly impact game performance when the games are not CPU bound. So the problem is a lot of games do have moments where they're CPU bound and they become GPU bound again. They bounce back and forth. In games that are purely GPU bound, that's when Timespy performance is very representative of in-game performance. Okay, so we got 18,709, which is about 400 points less than the Strix G18 when the G18 has a slight overclock. Our CPU score is excellent, though, at 16,498. Wow, that is very good. Let's apply an overclock. We're going to go for a 200 megahertz overclock with a 1,000 megahertz CPU or a memory overclock. So a 200 core clock, 1,000 memory overclock. I've been able to overclock every single RTX 4000 series laptop this much so far without any instability issues. So let's see if this one can handle it. Will I be testing the liquid-cooled laptops? Yes, I will, Christopher. They are going to send me a new version sometime early in March. So sometime in the first 2 weeks of March, I'll be able to get an XMG Neo 17 unboxing and testing done. Benchmarks are useful like measurement standards. They're useful for comparison. Yeah, it's just you have to understand that Timespy is not going to be a one-to-one apples-to-apples comparison when like a Timespy score is 20% faster. In some games, you're going to get similar 20% gains when it's a GPU-only bottleneck. But in games that have CPU bottlenecks, you're not going to see the full 20% gain. You may only see 5% gain. Or if it's like a blend of CPU and GPU, you might only see a 10% gain. And then in addition, you also have technology like frame generation, which is going to dramatically change how much performance numbers you're actually going to get in games like Hogwarts when you compare an RTX 3000 series to a 4000 series. So, yeah. But I do think DLSS will scale pretty well with Timespy's performance. But I think frame generation just throws everything out the window when it comes to your overall performance. So this is with an overclock, 200 megahertz on the core clock, 1000 on the memory clock. And so far, things are looking pretty stable, so that's good. And our GPU core clock is jumping up. It was like 2300, 2200. Now we're at 2450, 2445, 2415, 2430. So we are seeing increased performance with this overclock. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to end up affecting our Timespy score. I would love to see an i5 combined with a 4070 or 4080. Not everyone needs an i7 or an i9. Yeah, Timmy, that's a good idea, I think. You know, the Omen 17 offers an i7 with a RTX 4080, and that's only like $2,200, $2,300. So that's the cheapest one. But if that was with an i5, they could probably drop the price of the 4080 all the way down to $2,000. So I'm hoping we see that sometime in the near future. Because, yeah, a lot of people who just want to play games, an i5 with like 8 to 10 cores, depending on the i5, could still put out just as much performance. Pretty much. Very close. True, frame generation is the reason I'm upgrading. Yeah, frame generation is probably the number one reason I'm going to be upgrading. Because I wasn't expecting the performance gains to be as massive as what they are in single player games. They are massive. when you factor in frame generation. And frame generation, if it's implemented well, looks really good, and it's hard to tell that they're fake frames. And the latency increase from frame generation is very minimal. I did a detailed slow motion comparison with frame generation on and off. It's on the live stream that I did yesterday. Definitely go check out that slow motion 240 hertz, 240 frames per second slow motion comparison, because it really lets you see those frame generation frames, and it lets you show you how good frame generation is with very few artifacts, at least in the games that I tested. There was a few noticeable artifacts in a game like Cyberpunk, but in Hogwarts, I couldn't tell any artifacting like at all. So Mini LED is the reason why I'm upgrading this gen. Was really hoping for more OLED options this year, but Mini LED looks pretty good. Yeah, I agree. The display options are also a huge upgrade. 16 by 10, 500 nits to 1,000 nits, depending on which display you go with. The display options are also very compelling. Okay, whoa. 19,539. Very good. That's the best RTX 4080 I've seen so far from an overclocked perspective, I think. I know that the Alienware M16 got over 19,000 as well. I can't remember exactly what it got, but I don't think it was quite this high. Excellent Timespy score coming out for this GE78. Okay, so it's time to wrap up my thoughts on the GE78 so far with my time with it. So let me change the fan profile. Bingo. All right. So, and just for the sake of coolness, let me turn this back on too. All right. So, my thoughts on the GE78, it's weird that we're only getting 150 watts of TDP maximum on the processor, at least as being read by MSI Afterburner. Maybe it's not reading correctly because we're seeing excellent boost clocks that's very competitive with the Strix G18, and this put out higher frames per second than the Strix G18 in every game we tested that I can remember. It was like 2 to 3 to 5 FPS better. The Timespy score on this was also about 500 to 600 more than the Strix G18, but this also costs $1,000 more than the Strix G18. This has Windows Hello. It's working really, really well. There is no fingerprint sensor. The display is bright at 370 nits and 100% sRGB, about 87% P3 color gamut, but again, my color checker is not that accurate, so it's probably more like 95 to 97% DCI P3 color gamut. It's very bright, very vibrant display. I wish the display was a little higher contrast. Overall, I think the display is really good, and I think people are going to love this display. In Apex Legends, the response rate was excellent. It did not stutter. The performance was good in every single game that we tried. What else? The keyboard feels really good. It's not mechanical, but it's nice and quiet, and it's got a nice deep travel to it. The touchpad feels really good. I wish the click was a little bit better, but it's large and it's responsive and it's got an excellent texture. The software to control this is simple and effective and works well. The Cinebench R23 performance was out of this world. We got a really good i9 13980HK in this, or HX in this, and we got a really great undervolt, though it may not have been stable because we did crash in God of War. It may not have been. It may not have also been from God of War. I was launching Afterburner in the background while we were doing that, so maybe that caused the game to crash. We don't know exactly why it crashed. Maybe the Undervolt was fine. We don't know. The RGB implementation on this is good. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the cool lights in the front. The web camera was above average, and it does have a privacy cam shutter, so you can shutter the webcam for privacy. The rear RGB light up logo does look good, and you can always turn off all the RGB on this and make it look like a normal business laptop. Now, as far as design goes, it's a mostly metal laptop with a metal top lid, a metal keyboard deck, and a partially metal bottom chassis. The flex on this was very minimal and felt very rigid. The ports on this is also excellent with an extra USB-C and a full-size SD card slot when compared to something like the Strix G18 or Scar 18. So, I mean, I think this laptop is a real winner. The speakers were good, about the same as the Scar 18. The speakers were very good. I'd give them like an 8.7 out of 10. They're not as good as the Razer Blade 16, which I give like a 9.2 probably, and the Blade 18, 9.5. The Blade 18 is almost as good as the MacBook Pro, which I would rate at a perfect 10. So yeah, can I recommend this laptop? Absolutely. I'm very curious to see why our TDP numbers were not what MSI had claimed they were going to be. For fan noise in balanced mode, it was also very quiet with good performance at reasonable temperatures. So I don't know the exact reason why the TDP numbers are not being read correctly. It might be something to do with Afterburner needing to be updated, or maybe the way the MSI BIOS reads the TDP numbers, because we're obviously hitting high levels of TDP and high levels of performance in actual game performance benchmarks. So that's what matters. The performance is there, and it's even better than the Strix G18 by at least a little bit. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, another downside to this machine is it's hard to open up. Harder than average to open up for sure. So be ready to have a task. Be ready to accomplish. It'll be a real to-do whenever you actually end up opening this sucker up and swapping it in or out of SSD or upgrading the RAM or something, because it's not gonna be easy. Overall, I definitely recommend this. This is a good machine. I think this is great. I don't know if it's the best bang for the buck though. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but it's got some nice features. So if you like the look, if you like the form factor, if you like the overall styling, it's got good performance, and everything about it is very good, in my opinion. I mean, taking it apart was the worst part of it. And then the fact that this has a slightly lower quality display than the competition. Those are, I think, the main downsides, especially since the competition is actually a little bit cheaper at the same time. So from a bang from the buck perspective, not that good. But the hinges on this thing as well are very good and better than previous generations of the MSI product line. I don't see these hinges failing, most likely, based on what I can see. It's basically an all metal hinge that attaches to the screen. So there's a lot less points of potential failure, hopefully. So yeah, that's my MSI GE78 Raider review. Very nice laptop. Now, I do want to do more benchmarks with it, so I'll still probably do a benchmarking live stream with this guy, and I still have a benchmarking live stream with the GT77 coming up. Let me check chat, see if you guys have any more questions. Mitchell asks, is it still on balance mode in MSI Center? It was in max fan mode for almost everything except for one test we did in Cyberpunk 2077. How's the Gigabyte 17X squaring up to this PC? The Aura 17X should be very competitive with this laptop. I do have an Aura 17X being shipped to me. Aorus did confirm that. I'm going to get that in the mail. An RTX 4090 version of the Aura 17X, which costs a little bit less than this one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Unfortunately, the RAM is only 4,000 megahertz. Yeah, that's right. So it's a slower RAM speed on this machine. So, but that didn't negatively affect our performance. The performance on this machine was still like, it was really great. It was better than the Strix G18, which had 4,800 RAM, and this is 4,000 RAM, and this one was still putting out better frames. So something in this is working really well. The whole package is working really well with this GE78, better than the Strix G18 for some reason. Don't know exactly the reasons why, but it's still. WTD Life says, how did the i7 13650HX compare to the i9 13980HX? It seems like there's only a Strix G18 with the i9 or the i7 13650HX sold in Europe. Let me check the stats on that CPU really quick for you, and I'll be able to tell you what's going on with it. So this processor The i7 13650HX has 6 performance cores and 8 E-cores. So that would be a 20 core total. I mean, it's going to be a great gaming processor, and it's going to be pretty good at multitasking, but it's probably only going to be about 2/3 the performance in multi-core performance compared to this laptop. So you're probably looking at like 20 to 24K in Cinebench R23 for that. Okay. So MSI or SCAR 18, if you could choose. Jessica, if I'm choosing between the SCAR 18 and the MSI GE78HX, I'm going to buy the GE78HX because of the full-size SD card slot and better ports. That's my personal take on it, but some other people would prefer to have a 16 by 10 18-inch display or the brighter display, or they like the look of the SCAR 18 better, or the thermals, you know, the total TDP that we were getting in the SCAR 18 was better. I don't know. Or maybe they had a bad experience with MSI in the past. I don't know. There's lots of different options. I do also love that this has Windows Hello on it. I'm a big fan of Windows Hello. And the webcam is also higher quality on the GE78HX, which is important to me because I live stream a lot and sometimes I have to use my webcam as a backup, which is one of the main reasons why I'm probably going to go with the Blade 18 this year. Do you see the extra $1,000 value in this versus the Strix G18? That's a great question, Jean, and I don't know that I do. It's got better speakers than the Strix G18, but the Strix G18 has a better display, a bigger display. This has Windows Hello, the Strix G18 does not. This has better performance in games, at least by a little bit, and this has 64 gigs of RAM, which is a big upgrade over 16. That's probably like a $300 upgrade right there. And this is more portable. And this does feel a little bit more premium because this has more metal parts to it. And this has better ports. Whether it's worth $1,000 more, that's hard to say. Maybe. If those things matter a lot to you, it might be worth it. But if I'm going to buy the Strix GE78HX, I would rather get the 4090 version than the 4080, because the 4090 is only $400 more, and it should provide at least a 10% bump in performance, based on my last testing with the SCAR 18 versus the Strix G18. And at $400 more, that's a good price increase to the performance increase you're getting. Yeah. So that's my review unboxing of the MSI Raider GE78HX. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I'll probably do a live stream benchmarking some more with this machine, and I've got lots more live streams coming up, so be sure to subscribe. If you don't want to miss out, hit that notification bell so you can hop in to the live stream, interact, ask questions, and all that jazz. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon, out.